Hi. It's good morning for me, but what time is it? It's 1:42. Yeah, I'm still really tired. Anyone who has oops, I'm trying to get my hair right. Sorry. It looks bad. I brushed it, but it's not going right, is it? Um if you've seen my previous live streams, you know I've been up all night trying to make, I don't know, my self-imposed deadline. I don't know what's going on. I'm just trying everything I can think of to get my life, okay? To get my life for the first time. I'm like an embryo going through life, waiting to be born. And I'd like to be born, please. So, excuse me. Really tired, but I'm determined to get through this manifesto. It's a book. It's a manuscript, but I am determined to get through it by 11:59 today. Okay? I'm really, really tired. I didn't sleep long enough. I hate, getting up and taking care of Elizabeth all groggy like this, but it's what I'm determined to do. I have brought up some pictures for comparison purposes. I want you all to compare this Elliot Rodger with this Elliot Rodger. Don't you think they look a little different? They look, you would take them to be the same person if they weren't standing side by side. But looking at them side by side, doesn't this guy look a lot more Chinese than this guy? And look, the upper lip is a little more pronounced too. This one is not as pronounced. I really do think this guy's nose comes down more too. It does look like his nose comes down, but I think this guy has a little more of a notch there on his nose, like David, right? This guy doesn't. It's a little more smooth and more natural looking. This looks different, right? This is what I believe is David's disguise. This is who I believe is the true Elliot Rodger right here. And he looks more Chinese to me. This guy looks Caucasian. He looks more Caucasian. I know he's made to look Chinese as well, but you can see, and even the eyebrows are different. Look at, there's like lots, I see that they tried to mimic that on these eyebrows, and they placed the eyebrows higher than David's are. That's easy to do on a disguise. But it seems even like the hairs are just different. These are thicker. Look at, I don't know, the pattern of the hair is just different. The eyes, well, eyes are similar, honestly. But the lips are a little different. See, it's thinner on top. His lips are fuller. And these are full lips, sure, compared to David's, but I think these are fuller. And then there's another photo to look at. This definitely is like a more Caucasian looking Elliot Rodger as well. You can see the top lip different. See, David doesn't even have, he can't really see a top lip, and this is the same way. This guy, this is his disguise. I believe this is David's disguise here. And look at how it's different. It's much fuller. Even the look in his eye, the look in his eyes is different. See, it looks like a different person. Of course, it's a different moment. Everybody has different faces in different moments. Look at The eyes, different. I mean, if you look at the energy in the eyes, I know it's a different moment. Everybody looks different in different moments. That's not the most reliable way of seeing the difference, but I see a different person. This person actually seems calmer to me than this guy. This guy seems a little more angry and animated. This guy seems a little more passive or something to me. That's the energy I get. This guy looks angrier and more aggressive and more active. I don't know. I guess you can't really see that. I'm putting it off the screen. Sorry. I believe, if I move these in more, I'm sorry, I forgot that you might not be able to see the whole face. I believe these two guys right here and right here are David's disguise. And I believe this is the real Elliot Rodger, that the body, the dead body they found, because David killed him. And this is David's disguise here and here. Okay, just thought I'd show you all that. I thought that was really interesting as I was looking at them moments ago. Okay, I'm just gonna put that away, and we'll put these guys up here. I feel like this really, this is a lot like David, this face here. That's why I like to keep it up. All right, so let's get back to the manifesto. We're gonna get this done today, okay? Hi, Wispy. Let me shrink up this window to fit. And we were at age 18. Oops, too much. Age 18. And let's see. I know 4th of July. 18 years old. Here we go. Okay, let's get right into it. Let me get a little sip here. Lately, I've been... I avoid sugar typically, and my A1C is down to down to 5.5. I was so proud of myself. I mean, I don't eat sugar, you know. I use sweet, you know. I try to use only stevia, but you know, I end up using a lot of the yellow packets. What are they? Yellow packets. What are they? You know what I mean. In restaurants here in Augusta, nobody serves stevia. I'm sure out in California, New York, stevia is always an option. But here in the South, people just don't care about their health. They can't be bothered with their health like people in California, New York, more innovative cities. What is that? I don't know. The yellow packets, okay? I refuse to eat any of the other it's an artificial sweetener. It's actually sugar transformed chemically, and it's not good for you. But I don't know, lesser of all the evils, and stevia is my first choice if I can find it. I buy it for myself. I try to keep it in my purse, but I always use it up, and I'm always using the yellow packets whenever I go somewhere. But anyway, my A1C was down to 5.5 the last time we checked. I had to go on blood pressure medicine, high blood pressure medicine, because, you know, my blood pressure finally, with all the stress that I'm under, and of course all this weight on my body, I finally require blood pressure medicine. Age 57. Weighing, you know, I weigh like, I don't know what I weigh, but it's like I weigh like 205. And I'm not even 5'4", just like 5'3 3/4, petite build. Yeah, not good at age 57. And I do have to lose weight. I really do. I mean, just for my health, not to get any money or, you know, or for any other purpose. It's just for health, you know, not because I'm vain. You know, when I was young, yeah, I was a lot more vain than I am today. Yeah, for health. I don't want to be 60 and overweight like this. And I'm getting close to 58 at this point, so don't have many years left, you know, before I'm 60. Gotta get this weight off me before 60. And that's a YouTube channel, I know. I just don't know how many people want to watch a fat person, you know, try to lose weight, you know, because for a long time I will be overweight. Yeah, when I achieve it, then they'll want to watch. And yeah, I know once I get this weight off my body, my blood pressure will be normal again. I had such perfect low blood pressure my whole life, and even when I first became overweight, like this, well, not, you know, getting close to this, I still had perfect blood pressure for the longest time. It took like a couple years when I started seeing my blood pressure shift a little, you know, of carrying weight like this for a certain length of time. And, you know, but yeah, why I got into all of that is because my drink of choice is Mountain Dew. You can't see it. It's Bojangles. Dean brought it for me. You know, when I'm upset about life, and I haven't, you know, I avoid soda like the plague usually, but when I'm just really fed up with life, I end up drinking Mountain Dew. I used to drink it anyway when I was younger. It's my favorite soda, and it's not good for you. It's really bad for you. It's actually the soda with the most caffeine and probably the most sugar too, or one of them. I know definitely the most caffeine. It's not healthy. And it actually resembles coolant in a car, I would think. And I just don't think it's good for you. It's probably got bad chemicals and everything. It was my favorite soda when it came out in the 1970s, and I mean, it's always been my favorite. But I avoid it, you know, I have avoided it for a long time because it's not healthy. But I break it out when I just can't take it anymore. And, you know, people, I know unofficially, people behind the scenes say, oh, she's drinking again. My drink of choice, Mountain Dew. Let me show it to you. Mountain Dew. Wait, can you see it? It's not really showing up well. Mountain Dew. I've been drinking it for a couple months now, and I can't stop. Once I start, I can't stop. It's kind of, I'm addicted. I'm an addict. I have an addictive personality. I do. Miracle, I'm not a drug addict. Miracle, I'm not an alcoholic. Both my parents were. My brother is. My twin is. Miracle, I'm not. Growing up the way I did, surrounded by addicts and alcoholics, and being a baby in utero, whose mother drank gin and was injected with heroin. I was born a junkie. I was born an alcoholic, and I'm not one now. And I you know, I can drink, I could take it or leave it. I mean, it's not like I'm one of these people who can't like touch alcohol because I might like get addicted. You know, it's never been like that for me. I've never had an issue with alcohol. I could always take it or leave it. My favorite cocktail has always been Kahlua and milk. And yeah, there is the White Russian there, but I always preferred the Kahlua milk. The White Russian was a little too bitter. You know, I didn't like the taste of that vodka. I liked a sweet dessert kind of drink. Always had a sweet tooth. Love that coffee liqueur, Kahlua. My favorite always has been. I remember when I mean, I don't remember exactly the moment I discovered it, but when I did, it was like heaven for me to discover it. I love coffee. That's why I I had a lot to do with Starbucks. That's my logo up there on their sign, and I am the mermaid. You know, we fashioned that logo with me in mind, as a young woman, I guess. Yeah. And I'm sure I had something to do with Mountain Dew, because I don't think anyone could have created my favorite soda of all time except for me in a test kitchen as a child. I was always in test kitchen concocting products, and I mean, all your fast food restaurants, all the delicious Chick-fil-A sauce. I made that, okay? It's addictive, right? I know how to create delicious tasting items. I mean, even if they're good for you, they're not good for you if they're a fast food restaurant that uses chemicals, but yeah, I helped to create those things. It's just a few examples. Okay, I know we have to start reading this thing. So I'm in a Mountain Dew phase. I have been for a couple months, and if I were to have them test my A1C, it would probably have jumped up. It's probably jumped up to a 6 something. But I guess as long as it's not a 7 and above, you're okay. I mean, yeah, they prefer it as low as possible, right? And 5.5 was perfect. Couldn't believe that. So I had a little room. I'll stop soon. Otherwise I drink unsweet tea, which is fine, and hopefully I have stevia available, which is healthier than the yellow packets. And yeah, I can't think of the it's an S word, right? It's not stevia, which is good for you, okay for you anyway. It's the other. It's another S, right? Yellow packets. Even if they're not good for you, I figure they're the least bad of the selection you have around here. All right, 18 years old. Let's get rolling. I was 18, a high school graduate, and summer was nearing its end. I had to think about continuing my education. I was eager to be as productive with my time as I could be. College represented a hope for me. I would be starting a new kind of school where there are lots of people and opportunities. I might possibly make friends, have interactions with girls, maybe even get a girlfriend. The thought filled me with enthusiasm. Good, I'm glad you have that. I know, not for long, but... So I enrolled at Pierce College, the first of a few colleges I would jump to in my many desperate attempts to find a desirable life, okay? Pierce College is a large community college in Woodland Hills, not far from both my mother's and father's houses. When I looked through the list of classes, I saw that most of them were already full. The only class I was able to get was a computer class, and I settled with that. I could always spend time at the college, even while not in class, I concluded. Having only one class would help me ease into college at a milder pace. I hadn't been in a normal school system for 3 years. I feared I might get nervous, but then, after thinking about everything I had been through in the last few months, I knew I had the strength and courage to tackle it. Okay, that's a good attitude. My mother made the decision to move to a new apartment near Calabasas. What? She just keeps moving. It's very unsettling for everybody. But, he's an adult now, I guess. She took me and my sister there to show it to us beforehand. The room that I would get would be smaller. That's good. So he's going to stay home. And it wouldn't have its own bathroom, but the apartment was located in a much better area. It was walking distance from my father's house, the Mulholland Shopping Center, and the Calabasas Commons. I ended up persuading my mother to move there, as it would be much more convenient. Okay. On the first day at the new place, I took a long stroll around the nearby areas. Of course, those areas weren't unfamiliar to me, as I had walked around there many times during Father's Week, but this was the first time I went on a long walk since my breakdown, and it made me feel more confident. Good. I met up with Philip Blozer after not seeing him for 2 years. The last time I saw him was during the summer I turned 16. My mother dropped me off at his house, and I wasn't surprised to find that he was still the exact same person. Yeah, surprise. mature, reserved, a little awkward, and prone to random bouts of hyper energy. Jeffrey was also there, and he was still as wild and boisterous as ever, though he had changed a lot in appearance, no longer being the little kid I was so used to seeing him as. Philip already had his driver's license, so the two of us went out in his car to meet Addison Altendorf, who had just moved back to the U.S. and was living with his mother in an apartment in Malibu. Philip and Addison have always been very close friends with each other, and the two of them go everywhere together. I hadn't seen Addison since Topanga Elementary. At first glance, I didn't know what to make of him. It was like meeting a whole new person. He had changed tremendously. With his mustache and hairstyle, he looked older than he was, cultivating a refined and sophisticated personality and wearing an elegant blazer coat. Okay. As I spent time with Addison that day, I started to enjoy talking to him about politics and the world. He was very intelligent and more informed than other people our age. Okay. I bought my first lottery ticket when I went out shopping with my mother one day. We stopped at Ralph's where I noticed the lottery machine. I didn't know anything about the lottery, so I asked my mother about it. She told me how it works and taught me how to buy a ticket. Each ticket provides a very small chance of winning millions of dollars, and the jackpot could rise to the hundreds of millions. I couldn't believe it. I didn't know such a thing existed. After buying my ticket, I felt thrilled with the prospect of having a chance to become a multi-millionaire. The ticket, of course, didn't win, and neither would any of the tickets I buy after that, but they would give me hope. I never thought nor cared about money before I turned 18. Oh, interesting. Because I was still living like a child, with my parents handing the money and giving me the things I needed. However, the older I became, yeah, he uses more older. The older I grew, I guess I should say, the more I realized how important money was, and the more obsessed I would become about getting rich. This obsession, which was barely taking root at the time, sparked a long relationship. The lottery would only end in disappointment and despair. Sparked a long relationship. A lottery that would... with the lottery that would only end in disappointment and despair. Again, he talks about having a relationship with an inanimate object instead of a human being. It's really strange. And I know I wonder if he left out the with to emphasize that again. I don't know. It's kind of odd. That's part of the mindset of someone who takes people's lives. They maybe, just like he humanizes the lottery and his game console and his Xbox or whatever, he dehumanizes human beings, right? He's got it backwards, like his mind has it backwards. That's what it seems to me. Somehow, because I would never talk about my relationship with the lottery. That's not a human being. You have relationships with other human beings, not inanimate objects. Exactly. At Father's house, we watched the movie Alpha Dog. Oh, goodness. This is where he gets his alpha male stuff. I mean, or it probably fed into it. You know, I hate alpha males. I have, they're stupid. So-called alpha males, they have they're retarded. I really consider them to be retarded. They, what people think are alpha males, they're the males that dominate and are dictators or something. I think of Donald Trump, idiot, retard, mentally retarded, and that's my twin. Okay, she wants so bad to be a man. She got to be one. She said it's not a disguise, of course. She actually got to be in that guy's body that is Donald Trump, my genetic father. One of my many genetic fathers. And look at the destruction she has committed. Yeah, she loves being the alpha male. As a woman, she's not an alpha female. She's an alpha male in a woman's body. I know that's how she sees herself. A wolf in sheep's clothing. That was what my ex-boyfriend was always accused of being. A boyfriend I had before that I went out with, before I went out with David, and there was somebody who accused him of being a wolf in sheep's clothing, and this really irritated him and bothered him and offended him. But it's really true about him, and it's really true about Donald Trump, and it's really true about my twin. They were all the same people. Yeah, I went out with my twin when she was in a male body. She was 15 years old. I was told all about it later, and even during. I didn't understand. I at the time I had no memory of having a twin, and didn't really know what to make of what people were telling me. But later, I remember everything I was told and can, of course, put it together now. And I know what I experienced, in that relationship. And yeah, that was my twin. When she was 15, she thought she was, as this guy I went out with, she was a guy. She was not a woman at all. She had a male body. I don't go out with women. I'm not drawn to women. I'm not attracted to women like that. But my twin is. She was a lesbian for a long time. She really is. She still is. Even though she's married, and, I saw her sitting with a young woman. She's always with young women. She loves those young ones. I know her type. I see her with the same type whenever I see her. I knew what her room, when I used to knock on her door and, outside of Glendale, California, her roommate, was a certain type of, young girl, certain physical type. And, I kept knocking on her door, leaving her notes, giving her little gifts, and, trying to connect with her. And you know what she did? Did I tell? I probably said it in a previous live stream. She sold her house and moved away. That's what she did to me. And I didn't have a family, nothing. I was so thrilled to remember that I had a twin, to know where she lived. My friend, my clone actually connected me with her, tried in many ways to connect us together. It never worked out. And then I finally put it all together later and tried to connect with my twin myself. And it just didn't. She just runs away from me all the time. It's like she's scared of me. Yeah. and then I found her. I looked her up, and she was listed in downtown LA, and she was living with her brother, one of her brothers, not the brother who is my full brother. It was the brother that her adoptive parents, a natural child of her adoptive parents. I guess he might have been younger than him. I called her him. Than her and her younger brother, who was born in 1968. My mother gave birth to that brother, and they swapped the babies at the hospital. Both, my mother had to stay in the hospital for 3 weeks waiting for their mother to be ready to induce labor. My brother, Mark, was born prematurely so they could swap the babies at the hospital. And, he was pretty upset about that. He was always a crying baby. And, if my brother would not have survived a pregnancy of my mother's. But my brother, who I named Greg, did survive and was healthy. Of course, they cut off the heroin. My mother was cut off cold turkey, and she had withdrawal symptoms. And by the way, they were injecting little me too. And I have since realized that I guess they had to continue giving me doses of heroin because I was born a heroin addict. So was my twin. My twin didn't get any more doses, I guess. But yeah, they had little baby doses for me, and my mother got her dose every Freaky Friday. And then when she got pregnant with my brother, and it was actually Greg, not Mark. Mark was being carried by my twin's adoptive mother and Greg's adoptive mother. And I believe her name was Celeste. Yeah, when she got pregnant, the doctors were commanded to cut off the heroin because my sister did not do at all well, and of course our triplet brother didn't do well either. I mean, it's a miracle they survived and lived. I mean, she was totally unhealthy. She had growing up. I mean, she was not doing well without me, is what I was told, and they needed to swap the babies at the hospital so she would have a replacement twin, a baby that was not our full-blooded sibling was not going to do it, and so they had to swap the babies for the sake of my twin. And I'm like, okay. But I got really close to Greg, the baby that my mother carried. I talked to him. I chant to my mother's belly. Of course, Daddy chanted to her belly all the time. We were trying to help him pull through. He responded to me. My mother would be passed out, and I'd be talking to him, and he'd be like jumping around in there. I mean, well, actually he wasn't jumping around because he was struggling to survive at that point, but he would jump around at other times when she was not out cold and drunk. And yeah, he and I had a really special relationship, even though I never got to see him. She came home with my brother Mark, and that was not the baby I knew. And my mother told me, she said, "Oh, this is not the baby I gave birth to." She said the other baby was bigger, and he had bigger blue eyes. And this baby had, she says, but I know this is, Dennis's son because he has Denny's eyes, and my father's eyes, and he does, and he did, and so she was happy to have this smaller baby that looked like my father, but that wasn't the baby I knew and was close to. And so I had my brother Mark, and I, we never started off very well. We didn't start off on the right foot. He was always crying, and I saved his life because my mother would leave us in the hot car. I mean, that's how she killed me a couple times. But the baby didn't do well at all, and I was used to it. And I had to leave the car with the baby, and that's when somebody in the parking lot saw two babies walking out of a car, and my mother almost got in trouble, and I told her to take the baby. From then on, she almost got in trouble that day, but she didn't. They didn't report her. She somehow got away with it. She would go into stores and shoplift, even though she had money. My father made okay money. She was just, I don't know, she was just addicted to shoplifting. And when she didn't want babies with her when she was doing that, but with the baby, the actual little baby that she could carry, she found that she could shoplift and more things because she was carrying a baby that would camouflage what she was shoplifting. And so she enjoyed taking the baby in after that. I was the one that convinced her to do it, and I saved his life. He was not going to make it that day unless I had opened the car door and taken him out of the car. He was sweating and red and crying, and he was not doing well. And I saved his life, and he's He thinks I'm just making it up. He probably doesn't remember anything. I know he doesn't remember anything very young, and he just can't imagine anybody remembering what I do. And, my mother always camouflaged the truth. My brother doesn't even believe that I have an identical twin or a triplet brother. He would never be able to fathom that my ex-husband is my triplet brother. He just blindly believes what my mother told him, because I guess he just thinks that my mother doesn't lie. I mean, I'm sure he witnessed her lying many times. Anyway, my brother is mentally retarded. He always has been. That's my explanation. And he believes what he wants. And he threw me in the garbage, along with both my parents both did too. We cannot coexist. I never was allowed to be who I truly am in my family. So, I had to leave. It was either me or them, and I was going to choose myself. I think that's very healthy. I walked away from my family. I've never seen anyone else be able to do that, but I did it. And I didn't really have a choice. It was me or them. And I know they kind of saw that as, oh, good, we don't have Claire. She's walking away from everything and we get all her money. It doesn't work like that. It means you have no right to my money. Yeah, you might get some payouts for a while, but the payouts are ending pretty soon. So prepare yourself. Anyway, my brother's a stupid idiot. He thinks I'm the stupid idiot. Usually when people project like that, it's really them who's the stupid idiot. And I hate saying it about my brother. I really loved my brother, despite his, when he was a little boy, he was a brat. He was a brat running around. He was unaware of everything. He was not as sophisticated or aware as I was. He didn't know what was going on most of the time. And I just tolerated him. And then when he reached puberty, he started being nice to me. And I didn't really understand that he was being nice to me because my father was kind of hiring him to sell me to his friends, he was like my father's assistant pimp or something. It's disgusting. And, it's disgusting what happened in my family. And my brother tries to pretend nothing happened and that I'm just like imagining all this stuff in my head, like I'm in some other reality, and that, I need to be on medication, I need to be controlled or something. He's only scared because my brother is scared because my father involved, of course, if your father's the Zodiac killer, he's going to try to involve his children, you, in his murders, right? And my brother witnessed, when he was in middle school, he told me that I don't know who did the killing. I'm sure it was my father. That they killed a prostitute in Trenton, and he had to help my father bury her. And I was like, what? And I was just like, I was so shocked. I just blocked it out, right? And of course, Claire, later in life, she remembers everything, right? And this is what my brother's so scared of. He obviously is involved in the murder of some prostitute in Trenton when he was a child. He was a child, okay? His father was the Zodiac killer, okay? Line up. You're a witness. I don't think you could be held. Yes, as an adult, you could be held liable for not going forward to the police when you remembered, he never forgot, folks. And he's so scared of me because the police actually called him when I went to the Palo Alto Police Department and reported my father in person. It's so hard to report things when your family moved to different police precincts. I mean, there needs to be a way to unite all the police departments in the United States so that there's one database or something, because it's so crazy, all these different precincts, and you have to go to each precinct, and it's crazy. I mean, that's schizophrenia, you know, when everything's like all separated, and, you know, it's like you need to unite everything so you can solve crimes. I mean, you're never going to solve crimes. I mean, I guess that's what the FBI is for. But, you know, the police department has to has to ask the FBI to be involved. I mean, I don't think the FBI just gets involved unless it's a national thing, a federal thing. And it takes the police department asking them to get involved, like Moscow PD did. Very wise police department. And that's how, you know, they found a wealth of information at their fingertips thanks to the FBI, and solved, well, you know, yeah, solved this case, and we will see the evidence in court soon, one of these days soon. Hi, Mikey. It's okay. Good boy. He's drinking his water. Yeah. Went on a little tangent there. I hope you enjoyed it. I don't think I want to say very much more. I mean, there's nothing more to say. My brother has thrown me away. He thinks I'm like this mental patient, and he wants nothing to do with me. I mean, it's like, who, you know, if somebody in your family is struggling, why would you just throw them in the garbage can? I mean, what kind of family does that? You know, I'm not, I mean, yes, I am struggling because I don't have a life, but, you know, and it's a miracle I'm alive. My brother must know that. He knows what he put me through. He knows what my father and my mother put me through. He's, you know, family secrets. I was born to a family of monsters, and my brother got involved in my abuse. He's the younger brother. I'm the older sister. I'm the firstborn. And yeah, he became one of my abusers, even though he was the younger one. You know, usually it's the older child that torments the younger child, right? I never did that. You know, I tried to protect him. I saved his life a couple of times. You know, he was dying of appendicitis when he was in first grade, and I begged the people who gave me, you know, I was given the choice to let him die. I know. Yeah, I was given the choice when I was in third grade when he was in first grade. And I'm like, no, I don't want my brother to die. And I was warned that my brother in the future would plot together with my mother to steal my money. And, you know, I could just let him die right now. And I'm like, no, I don't care what you're saying. No, I don't want my younger brother to die, my baby brother to die. I begged them. I said, please, I don't want him to die. Please don't. I don't want him to die, please. I mean, he was, his appendix had already burst. He wasn't even able to stand upright. He was bent over in half. He really, literally, it was me who said, you know, it could have gone either way. They gave me the option to choose which way it went. And that is possible. Yes, it is. Okay? Because of who I am. I know it sounds really weird. And yeah, I know people like my brother who have no faith don't understand, because my brother has not been exposed to the truth. He doesn't know the truth. He doesn't want to know the truth. He's very arrogant. He thinks he knows it all. He thinks, you know, he's in control. He's not. That's an illusion. You're delusional, Mark. And you know, I know you think I'm delusional. It's the reverse. You're projecting onto me. That's the way it usually works. Like, you know, I'm usually attacked by others, and then I reveal the truth. I don't, they're not attacked by me. I mean, unless you know, I've already been, you know, so much was done to me first. Otherwise, I wouldn't come forward and speak what I do. You know, I don't just make this stuff up. I mean, I couldn't make this stuff up. Who would want to make stuff like this up? but yeah, my father, I do that a lot. I sometimes call my brother my father. It's weird because he's just like Dennis. He's just like Denny, the Zodiac killer. He really is. Who knows what else he's hiding? I mean, I've been very concerned about his daughters and of course his son, but especially his daughters, because RAPE runs in our family. That was what was done to me my whole life with date RAPE DRUGS. And he lost a son mysteriously for no medical reason when his ex-wife was pregnant and about to give birth to 2 weeks before her due date. The baby died in utero mysteriously. They tested him and everything. No medical reason. And I worry. And I told her, and she got so mad at me for I told her what I thought, and his ex-wife, and she didn't want to hear it. And she just thought I was terrible for telling her such a thing. But I had a responsibility to tell her that if, it runs in our family. People use date RAPEDRUGS all the time. And and I've actually seen somebody give such a DRUG to a fully pregnant woman. I've seen this. They do it all the time. They think it's safe, but it's my opinion. This hasn't been proven, I know, but it's my opinion that my former sister-in-law lost Benjamin, Elliot, her son, my nephew, because Mark gave her that drug to RAPE or her, or have others RAPE her. I mean, this is the sick family I'm from. And she didn't want to hear it. Everybody from, my family is, extra conservative, and you would never know it by looking at them. They're straight and narrow. They have careers. They have jobs. They have money. They live in a house. They have nice wives, nice children. You would never know it. Clean cut. Well, sometimes. No, really. I mean, you know what I'm saying. Just conservative kind of people who live in conservative areas. And I don't know what his politics are. I mean, my parents were always Republicans, but I don't know that my brother is. I know my mother was no longer a Republican, towards the end of her life. I don't think she was. My dad was, though. For evil reasons. Yeah. So Mark is really scared of me, and he wants to shut me down. He thinks that when people are given psych drugs that it shuts your brain down, and that's how people can be controlled. I mean, he's in the CIA. This is what they teach agents and people like him, stupid idiots. They have he's right out of the CIA handbook. When I talk to him, it's just so annoying. And he tries to make it like it's me that is, I don't know. He can't convince. I mean, I know information he doesn't know, and I witnessed what he doesn't know I witnessed, and he can't try to brainwash me into thinking that our father was not in the CIA. Come on, Mark. Give me a fucking break. Oh, I'm so stupid. I'm so vulnerable to your brainwashing techniques. It's not like I haven't been brainwashed my whole life, and no brainwashing in and out, inside and out. I can see through all your techniques and tricks because I'm an expert. Mark. I've overcome all that. I've graduated beyond all that stuff, and you're so stupid to think that you can use all those CIA tools on me and they're gonna work. I mean, give me a break, Mark. Who do you think I am? Some stupid idiot? That's what he thinks. He thinks I'm a stupid idiot. Why? Because he's a stupid idiot. That's why. Stupid idiots tend to think other people are stupid idiots. I mean, look at Trump. He thinks he's like the world's like greatest gift to humankind. I mean, and he knows he's scamming humanity, but I guess he doesn't think there's anyone who is really good or something. You know, I just think people like this don't have faith. They just think that the best thing humanity has is some really great criminal who scams them. I mean, that's what Trump is. He's a criminal, and he scams and lies, and he thinks, well, you know, there's nobody who's really good, you know. So, you know, the best thing they're ever going to get is like the craftiest criminal that there is, you know. I guess criminals, I guess they think there's nothing better, that it's all a lie. Like it's all fairy tales, that there are actually good people in the world, that there are actually people who care, because they don't care. They're like, oh, if I don't care, nobody cares. Like my brother, he's done so, you know, he's a crackhead, by the way. I forgot to mention that. And that's how my mother got, she died of cancer of the appendix. Just, you know, he had appendicitis when we were children, and he turned my mother onto crack. You know, my mother claimed to the end of her life that she was sober and clean, and she's never admitted that she ever did any drugs. You know, she was never an NA, Narcotics Anonymous. She always claimed to be just an alcoholic, right? And that was her gateway drug for all the other drugs. You know, when she drank, that's when she popped pills and did everything else. And she never wanted to publicly admit that, I guess. So she just pretended to be just an alcoholic. But at a certain point, she got kind of antsy in the 70s. And when I was a baby, my father told me about cold medicine and tried to turn me onto it. But it didn't do anything for me. My father, when he drank it, he heard voices, he had hallucinations, he heard, you know, and eventually, of course, he turned my brother onto it. Okay. Daddy, by the way, Clint Eastwood, Daddy, he said, no, Claire, that is bad for you. Don't drink that. So I never continued drinking it. Okay. But then eventually my father got to my brother and got him into it. And it was my brother who turned my mother onto it, in like when he was in middle school, I believe. And that's how she started drinking again. You know, she drank cold medicine. She learned all the tricks in AA, you know, this AA program. You know, they learn how, you know, my mother would tell me how some people would drink mouthwash and, you know, vanilla extract and things that had alcohol in it instead of drinking alcohol, you know, and she would tell me all the tricks. And I guess my mother, you know, learned how to do things from other people in AA and claimed she was still sober. Cough medicine, that's fine, right? Just drink your cough medicine. And, you know, and then at a certain point, you know, my brother was a real drug addict. He still is. You know, he told me once that if he dropped acid one more time, that he would go insane. You know, that he would lose it and he would never come back from insanity or whatever. You know, he told me that once back. He was in his 20s when he told me that. Okay, so he couldn't drop acid ever again. So he did other drugs, and he always told me he wanted to try crack. And I'm like, no, you know, you try crack. You don't try crack once. You try crack once and you're an addict. Okay, I warned him. I said, no, you don't want to try that drug. No. And you know, I've been surrounded by it here and there. You know, when I was in LA, apparently it's shocking how many people smoke crack and have smoked crack around me. Even David. I mean, it's shocking. But anyway, my brother got my mother into crack, and that's how she developed a cancer of the appendix. Smoking is one of the they think, they're not sure. Smoking is one of the causes of appendix cancer. And may I add, smoking crack Add that to your list, scientists. Smoking crack can cause cancer of the appendix because my mother died of it. Well, actually, my brother helped, just like with my grandma. Morphine. That's the chemical I'm talking about. Morphine. My father, my mother, my grandma. They were helped to die when they died. Mark, I'm on to you. And I guess my brother thought he was going to get all my mother's money. And, you know, he's so obsessed. And he doesn't understand. My mother never had my money. She just kept it away from me. Or I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Okay, I really don't. I have a trust. It's my trust. I formed it in 1994. I was introduced to the bankers at Wells Fargo. They all knew who I was. I was supposed to get my own payout, and I did, and I never claimed it because, you know, David killed my brand new husband, put me in a new state of trauma, and I just blocked it all out. Didn't remember the money. And after a while, my father, I didn't remember that I made my father the trustee. And, you know, once he figured out that I didn't know about it anymore, he took it away. And yeah, it's all mine. I shouldn't just get a payout. If I take a payout, I lose right to the whole thing. So I guess that's why I know my father was looking out for me behind the scenes in his heart, even if it looked like he was my enemy. You know, of my parents, it was really my father who secretly loved me in his own distorted, weird way. I was more bonded with my father, Denny, than I was with my mother. And but it was David who told me, I was visiting my mother. The last time I saw her was in 1998. I know that's really sad. She was, in 1998, she was almost, 60? Yeah, she was about my age. She was actually, right, 98. Yeah, she was born in 39. That would have been, yeah, she would have been, it was late 98, so she was almost 60. She was 59, right? Is that right? Yeah. And I can't believe I'm almost that age, because I considered her to be really old back then. She had just moved to Peterborough, and David was, we were hitting all the spots where I used to live, and we visiting his family, visiting my family. It was our last trip together before I broke up with him for the last time, and then we remained friends for another 5 years, and then I removed him from my life in 2003. But anyway, yeah, so we visited my mom, and it was my brother, you know, he smokes cigarettes and chews tobacco and stuff like that. And he ran out my mother has a very huge, long deck on the back of her house. Well, she did. It's, you know, she died on October 5th of last year. And I had to find out by stumbling upon her online obituary, just like with my father. But I stumbled upon hers faster because it had happened with my father. And I guess I was a little more careful to check more often, so I would know if my mother died. And boom, I was so shocked to hear she died. I didn't even know she was sick. Okay, I had no contact with my family anymore. And so when I was visiting her this time in 98, late 98 fall, it was like October, November, you know, I know I celebrated my birthday at my father's house in Great Falls, Virginia. And I believe we started north and went south. So it must have been earlier in October. Yeah, and she died in October. That's interesting. It was before she ever met her husband that she was married to for 19 years. I can't believe it. My brother ran out to have a smoke. It looked like, you know, she had a very beautiful long deck on the back of her house. And when he ran out, I saw my mother run after him, and I was like, oh, let me join the crew. I don't know. And I went out there, and my brother had this metal pipe, and my mother was right next to him, and they were doing their thing. And I'm like, hi, because I don't know anything about smoking or drugs. I don't do drugs. I've never done drugs. Okay. I've never been a smoker of any kind. And so I'm like, hi, and I wasn't examining what was taking place. I was just like, I didn't even suspect anything. I was just joining the crew out on the deck, and my mother was looking at me like, what are you doing here? Like, oh shit, you caught me in the act, And I didn't know what I witnessed, and she was just staring me down like, she was waiting for my reaction, I guess. And she was caught red-handed smoking crack. Okay. And I didn't know. Okay. I didn't know. I was in denial. I guess I was in denial in the moment. And my brother's like, oh yeah, this is my tobacco. And he was talking about how it was his tobacco pipe and he was smoking it, and Mom liked to come out and join him. He was like handing it to my mother at the time, and he was trying to tell me what I just saw, like mind control technique, like, you just saw me with my tobacco pipe, and Mom likes to be right here with me. And I'm like, well, and I'm like, well, okay, and it was just clear that they were both staring me down like, please leave, and I'm like, okay, I guess this is kind of uncomfortable. I guess you want to be alone. I was waiting for them to say, no, stay. I was like, I guess you want to be alone right now, so I'll just head back into the house. I was like shocked, and they didn't stop me. And I went inside and I told David, I'm like, oh my God. Like, I don't know what I just saw. And he's like, what did the pipe look like? And I told him it was metal. And he's like, it sounds like a crack pipe. I'm like, what? My mother and brother smoke crack? He's like, yeah. And, because I had no idea that David knew anything about crack and that he smoked it, because he never smoked it around me. I never saw him smoke it or anything, or no, I didn't know anything. He was the one that informed me that they were smoking crack. And I was like, oh my God, my mom and my brother smoke crack. Oh my God. Like, I thought I had never met anyone who smoked crack, much less family members. Yeah. David had a smile on his face like, oh my gosh. So that was such a shock for me. And yeah, that was the last time I saw my mother and my father. I would see my brother again, and last time I saw him was 2003, right after my mother, like the day, Cinco de Mayo. Well, that was when he picked me up from the Newark airport, the day after my mother got married. I was going to be coming in the previous Friday, and I know I remember how he thought that was so funny, and I didn't understand why, and I ended up changing my plans at the last minute to arrive in on Monday's Cinco de Mayo in time for Mother's Day. I was, trying to like reach it, trying to, have some kind of relationship with my mother, trying to renew our connection a little bit. And I had no idea that she didn't want me at the wedding, and my brother took such delight in telling me that my own mother got married the day before, on May 4th. And yeah, so I didn't see my mother that trip, because I was really, really hurt that you know, I was left out. And it was to get me back for eloping in Hawaii, apparently. You know, she was so mad about that. But, you know, I think as her daughter, I have the right to elope if I choose to. You know, and it's not the same because I didn't invite Mark and Denny, you know, my father or dad. I didn't do that, you know, and leave her out. But she was trying to get me get me back, you know, with a double whammy, you know, I guess. And, you know, apparently, you know, she didn't, you know, her reasoning was that, I don't know, she always labeled me as the problem child, and, you know, and she didn't want me to ruin the day or whatever. Yeah, she didn't want me to tell her husband the truth, you know. I was, you know, I have a hard time lying and going along with the program in my family, and she knew you know, I guess she was lying to her husband, and she didn't want me to out her, or he wouldn't want to be with her, right? I'd ruin their marriage, right? Okay. So she sacrificed me. You know, I sacrificed my family for me, and I guess she sacrificed me for her, right? That was her reasoning. You know, of course, it was all a scam. It was a lie. You know, at least I'm based in truth. I base my life in truth, not a lie. So there's a little background for you. She died on October 5th, 2022, and my father died on Michael Jackson's birthday in 2020, and that's no coincidence. My brother always used to say, I want the Claire I grew up with. I don't want the Michael Jackson Claire. That was what they called the new, you know, Claire I became as I got older and started speaking out and remembering things. That was the Michael Jackson Claire. He wanted the Claire he grew up with, the child he grew up with. He wanted me to be a docile child that he always, you know, remembered. And I'm like, but Mark, I'm an adult. I'm like, you know, at the time he said that to me, I was like in my late 40s, you know, I'm not going to be the same as I was when I was 8 years old, Mark, you know. He's just crazy. He thinks I'm crazy, but he's the one who's crazy. It's just sick. Yeah, so my father chose to die on Michael Jackson's birthday. You know, I'm sure my stepmother had no idea it was Michael Jackson's birthday when my father said, "Bring on the morphine! Please, I want to die now! I'm in so much pain! Inject me now!" Yeah. And then he died, you know? It was like committing suicide, kind of, right? They helped, right? I mean, I wasn't there, so I don't know what happened. It's just, he would not have died on Michael Jackson's birthday if he hadn't planned it. And yeah, it was too late once she realized, oh, it was Michael Jackson's birthday. That's going to look bad. Yeah, it's going to look bad. August 29th, 2020. Yeah, it looks bad. And yeah, my mother died on the 5th of October. I know who was connected to that. 5 meant marriage to me at one time. It's actually a disaster number, but I used to always associate it with marriage to one particular person. And that person knows who I'm talking about. And I know there was a link, and I know my brother, you know, it was planned for her to die on that day. I mean, I don't know. She had no pain. There was no need for morphine. And I mean, I don't know. She was immediately cremated. No autopsy. She wasn't even cold when they were taking her to the crematorium. I'm sure that was my brother's recommendation. Yeah. Yeah. And they can still analyze ashes, you know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You know, this is my family. They all kill and murder, and this is what I grew up with. This is the kind of mentality I had to deal with all my life, and Yeah. All right. So I understand this kind of mindset very well. I understand it very well, even though it's not me, even though I was spared, thank goodness, and it's because of Daddy. It was because of Daddy that I turned out, the way healthy. They didn't corrupt me. They didn't infect me with their virus. It's a miracle. And I healed myself. All right, let's move on. I know I'm just talking too much, but this is why he wrote this manuscript. This is why. So I would talk about these things. This needs to be live streamed. This is my life. This is how I'm going to get my life. I believe that. I could be totally off. I've been wrong so many times. I'm not afraid to be wrong. I have nothing to lose if I'm wrong. I have nothing to lose. This is all the truth. I have nothing to hide. I have no shame. I just want my life. If I can get it by opening up and live streaming my life in one place. I've talked about it for years. It's not like I haven't talked about it all. But I guess to confirm that it's me, I have to do this. I just don't know. Somebody, I just don't know how Daddy thought this was ever going to work out, because, I just don't know how he thought this would ever work out. Daddy, when is this going to work out? When is world peace going to happen? When am I going to be able to play the role I was born, that you brought me into existence to play? When am I going to, is this a failure? Am I stuck here and you can't undo it? Have we failed? Is it, has our mission been terminated? What is going on? That's what I'd like to know. Nobody can talk to me. Okay, telepathy, there's no law that prevents, they can't control telepathy. You can't prove telepathy, so telepathically explain everything. Please, everyone, please help me understand what is going on. When am I going to have a life? Tell me when. I want to know when. I keep telling, I've been stringing my husband along for years, poor Dean, and he just has no faith anymore. And at least he has faith in me, but it's very miserable knowing what's coming and not knowing when, and not having anyone believe you, not being able to talk to anyone, nobody being able to talk to you. It's just a miserable situation at age 57, almost 58. I'm like a broken record. I feel like a broken record. I keep talking about this. What else do you need? What do I need to do? Tell me, looking to know what I need to do. What is my plan of action? What do I need to do now? Tell me, all of you, tell me. I don't know. I think, when you telepathically talk to me, I don't hear you. Okay? Sometimes I might feel like I have an inkling of what is being told to me, sometimes, but I don't hear things. Okay? It's like I just realize things. It's like I think it's like my own thought process. It's like I suddenly, things surface in my consciousness and I realize something. And then I realize, thinking about it, oh, that person must have told me that, or oh, Daddy must have telepathically told me that, or da 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 da. It's like it's a realization. It just bubbles up in my mind. If I don't hear you guys telling me anything, I'm just going about my day, and suddenly I realize something. Oh, I had no idea. I had no idea when I ask a question, what's the answer? All of a sudden the answer pops up. Oh, that person must have told me the answer, kind of thing. You know, I don't know what it is on the other side. Like, I know there are very, you know, Department of Empowerment. It's a worldwide organization that Ross has developed. I mean, it's my organization, and you know, with people who have security clearances from all walks of life. You know, they're all successful people, celebrities, non-celebrities, just very successful upper echelon of society people, and they secretly chant and gather, and I know groups of them chant to tell me stuff. I know they have tozos, chanting sessions to tell Claire certain things, and it works. It works. And I, you know, sometimes they step it up. You know, sometimes they have a special project and it's really important, you know, and Claire has to do this by this time, and they get me to do it. I mean, it's a miracle. I don't know how I'm still here, and you know, I don't know how they do it, and I don't know their end of things. I just know my end. I just realize certain things, or the environment reveals things, and then I realize things, and you know, it's amazing how I've gotten to this point, and I just hope that we're on the path to the quickest declassification process possible. I mean, I'm sorry. I hate saying it again and again. I hate being a broken record. I hate it. All right, I got to keep reading. I know I'm never going to get this done if I keep talking and talking and talking, but this is what it's for, is for me to open up and talk about things this brings up for me. This is how I'm going to get declassified. I know it. I mean, I hope. I could be wrong. I'm always wrong. You always make me wrong. I do this, I do that. I swear people guide me, and I realize what I have to do next, but nothing ever pans out. I mean, I'm like, how long is this road I'm on? I mean, when will I ever get to my destination? Am I almost there? Am I going to be there tomorrow, next week, an hour from now? I mean, when? When is this going to happen? I'm suffering so much over this. You know, try waiting 57 years to get your life. Try being an embryo for 50. I mean, yeah, I made the best of it. I did. I mean, people will tell you, you know, I had some great moments over the years, but I don't exist yet. My life does not yet exist. And that's a problem, because, you know, I am not an apparition. I'm not a ghost here. I am a real live person. I'm not an embryo. I'm alive. And I'm suffering over this. This is torture. This is inhumane. And it must stop. The experiment is over. You've gotten all your data. You've gotten all your evidence. You've disproven all your hypotheses. It's done. This is it. I mean, I've been telling you this for years, and I'm just ignored. I mean, like, what am I? Chopped liver? I'm nothing, huh? I'm just nothing. You all make fun of me, and, you know, all the devils love torture, and, oh, yeah, look at her. You get off on it, don't you? All right, so I'm going to continue reading, and I don't know. I wonder if I'm going to get through this today, because I have limited. I need to rest. I'm really tired, and Elizabeth's going to need me soon. I need to take care of the animals. Dean is going to come home and want to do something or something. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to make it. I'm only on page 61. All right, I think you have enough of my information, right? Unless something pops out of the page, I'm just going to keep reading, and I'm just going to, plow through this, okay? It needs to be read, right? And if something pops out, I'll talk about it, and I'll time myself and only make it 5 minutes. Okay. All right, I'll start at this new paragraph. At Father's house, we watched the movie Alpha Dog. Okay, that's, like I said, I don't like alpha males, and this is where a lot of his philosophy probably comes from. It's about dogs, not humans. After dinner one night. So we watched the movie Alpha Dog after dinner one night. This movie depicts a lot of teenagers and young people partying and having sex with beautiful girls, living the life that I've desired for so long. The main character is a 15-year-old kid who has sex with 2 hot girls in a swimming pool. I was so envious. This is a character in a movie, and he's so envious that I delighted, it says, I delighted in his death at the end. It's a character in a movie. How can you be envious of a character in a movie? I remember thinking I would rather live his life than mine, even though he died. He had sex and I didn't. The movie deeply affected me emotionally, and I would think about it for some time afterwards. I started my new semester at Pierce College. I still hadn't obtained my driver's license yet, so I was forced to take the public bus to school. This was an extremely unpleasant experience, but I was willing to bear with it just so I could go to college and improve my life. Yeah, well, if you had worked on, practicing your driving and trying to learn, maybe you'd be driving by now. He really doesn't take responsibility for a lot of the outcomes he has in his life. He tends to complain and blame others. It's very extreme, too, in his case. On my first day, I couldn't help but feel nervous. The place reminded me of Taft, though the people seemed nicer and the environment was less intimidating. When I settled down into my class, I felt that things will turn out okay. Sumaya returned from Morocco, and she was very angry with me due to the way I acted while I was there. She effectively kicked me out of Father's house because I was 18, very young. She was allowed to. Father didn't do anything to stop her being the weak man that he is. This is how it has always been. Father has always given Sumaya free rein to impose her rules on the household. He gave her all the power. This act officially ended the one week arrangement. Yeah, he's no longer a child. And Mother's house became my permanent living place. Good. Not only did she kick me out of Father's house, but she forbade me to go there even for a short visit. And still Father didn't do anything about it. Father kept saying that the house is her house as much as his, and that she has the right to kick me out. No, I'm the eldest son. The house should be my house before hers. He had a responsibility as a father to, include his son somehow. I know his son needs to respect his wife, his stepmother, but it's the father's responsibility to make sure the son, the firstborn, is not left out. My father allowed my stepmother to throw me out of their life forever. I haven't even met my youngest sibling from, the third. There are 3 kids that my dad had after, while married to my stepmother, and they're now all adults, but young. Well, the youngest is a very young adult still. And I've never met them. No, I am the eldest son. The house should be my house before hers. This caused any respect I still had from my father to fade away completely. I relate. It was such a betrayal to put his second wife before his eldest son. Yeah, well, I guess she gave him no choice. I'll leave you if you, this is how men, what happens to men as they get old. They're like, oh, I'll be all alone and I need somebody when I'm not going to get, I'm old and I can't get another wife, so I have to please this one and do what she says, or I'll be all alone. I'm pretty sure that's the situation. Yeah, the second wife, I guess has a lot of control. you know. What kind of father would do that is what he asks. The bitch must be really good to him in bed, I figured. What a weak man. Oh, it's not quite like that. It's more like, you know, she provides a home for him and he's getting old and he doesn't want to die alone. It's, you know, they have a child together. You know, it's like she is his mother, is more like it. Every day I try to make some effort to go out looking for ways to improve my life. Well, good for you. I felt that staying in my room was a waste of time. Good. I knew what I wanted, but I had no idea how to get it. I frequently went on walks around my mother's neighborhood in the desperate hope that someone would befriend me or a girl would talk to me. Nothing of the sort ever happened. Okay. Sometimes I walked all the way up to the overlook, as my mother's apartment was just around the other side of it. And sometimes I walked to the Calabasas Commons, where I would hang out at Barnes & Noble reading books. Oh my God. David used to always do that. He always hung out at Barnes & Noble reading books. Always. He wouldn't, I mean, he would buy the ones that he really liked, but he would read a lot of books in the store, you know, and wouldn't buy them. He always spent his time at Barnes & Noble reading books. Oh my God. See, I'm telling you, this is David that wrote this. Reading books, always with the hope that some young people would reach out and befriend me. No one ever did. Okay. I kept hoping and hoping and hoping. Hope is what kept me alive. Okay. I continued. It does kind of indicate that he's pointing out New Hope, Pennsylvania. That's where I have a house. A stone house, a farmhouse from the 1800s, isn't it? Built in the 1800s, but somebody else lives in it, you know, and pretends it's theirs. It's so pathetic. New Hope. I introduced that person to New Hope. You know, he lived in Pennsylvania, nearby to New Hope, and never had been to New Hope until I brought him there. And now he lives in my house in New Hope. Pretends he owns it. All right. I continued seeing Philip and Addison, my only other social interaction besides James. I talked to Addison about my old political views, debating with him about what an ideal world would look like. I found out that he had some fascist views of his own. And it was nice to have a discussion with someone about things that would make most normal people run a mile. I frequently messaged Addison. I'm just reviewing this because I'm a little tired and I just want to make sure I read it right, understanding it the proper way. I frequently messaged Addison on Facebook, hoping to start up conversations when I felt lonely. He told me he was just starting his 12th grade year at Malibu High School, and his goal was to fit in with the popular kids. Fitting in with popular kids at Malibu High School? I didn't expect Addison to be successful in such a venture. Addison invited me to his birthday party. It was a small get-together on the beach in Point Dume, Malibu. I had a very hard time socializing with people, so I ended up drinking too much alcohol. Before Philip drove me home, I vomited outside Addison's apartment in front of his mother and everyone else. It was highly embarrassing, and I put a lot of effort to block it from my mind afterwards. Oh, sounds familiar. James came to my mother's new apartment for a sleepover. We walked to the Calabasas Commons together. It was nice to show him all of my favorite spots there, like the window at Barnes & Noble that overlooks the whole area, and Turtle Ponds next to King's Restaurant. King's. It was a great place to talk and contemplate. I had some deep conversations about our fantasies and our hopes for the future. When I was a child, Halloween used to be a fun and exciting experience, but ever since the last time I went trick-or-treating, Halloween has been a time when I spent the whole night in my room while other teenagers were having fun partying. On this Halloween, I was desperate to do something social. I just couldn't sit in my room on such a night. I found out from stalking random people on Facebook that there was going to be a huge house party in West Hills. I decided to take a big leap forward and attend this house party, even though I wouldn't know anybody there. I had nothing to lose, and it would give me more of a chance of meeting girls than if I stayed in my room all night. Very logical. Because I couldn't drive, I had to walk all the way there, and it took 45 minutes. When I got there, I was overcome by anxiety, but I couldn't back out at that point. I paid the entry fee of $5 and walked right in. To my dismay, the party was smaller than I expected. All of the kids were smoking marijuana, and they all seemed to know each other. It would only be a matter of time before they detected that I was an outcast. I stood around awkwardly for a few minutes before giving up and walking home. On the way home, just as I was about to reach my mother's house, a group of 4 young thugs drove by me in a pickup truck and proceeded to throw eggs at me, laughing while they did it. Yeah, idiots. They seemed intoxicated and they missed me. I picked up one of the shells and threw it right back into their car. I was no longer a weak little kid who would take a hit without fighting back. I was stronger now. They got out of their car and tried to attack me, and they would have beaten me bloody if I didn't pull out my trusty pocket knife, which I usually carried when I walked alone by myself. Thankfully, the thugs backed away and drove off. Perhaps it was the knife or the look of extreme hatred in my eyes. I quickly ran home terrified. It was an unsuccessful and misfortunate night. For a few days after Halloween, I kept thinking about that incident with the horrible thugs who almost attacked me. They must have seen me as a weakling who they could bully for their amusement. I didn't want the world to view me as weak. This led to my new commitment to start exercising and lifting weights. Okay, I began working out at the gym in my mother's apartment complex every other day. I hoped it would increase my confidence and make me appear a bit stronger. Maybe if I built muscles, girls will be attracted to me, I hopefully proclaimed to myself. I had never worked out or lifted weights in my life, so my body has always been very frail and delicate. This was a new experience, and it made me feel more productive. Sumaya's grudge against me lessened after a couple of months, and she allowed me to go to Father's house for dinner occasionally. I was very angry with my father, but I hid my anger. I still needed him. Father began teaching me how to drive once I received my driver's permit, which was quite hard to get. I had to take a written test with many questions, and I failed on my first try. On the second attempt, I managed to pass. My first experience driving was very scary. See, he's 18 at this point. It's not like he's 16. I've played a few racing video games in my life, but driving a car for real was much more intimidating. At first, I could barely even drive around my father's quiet neighborhood. I was overcome by the fear that I would never be able to drive. I soon got more used to it during the next few sessions. Soon enough, I was able to drive a short distance up Topanga Canyon with ease. I still didn't feel prepared to take my official driver's test, though. Despite my attempts to improve my life, I was still feeling frustrated and angry. I was getting nothing out of my efforts. I still hadn't made any friends at Pierce College, and I didn't interact with any girls. My days at Pierce College grew more and more mundane and depressing. I went to my class on Tuesdays and Thursdays, taking the bus to the AMC and walking the rest of the way. In the classroom, I had a hard time socializing with anyone. Making friends seemed impossible. My mother was casually dating a very wealthy man named Jack at the time, though I wouldn't find out they were dating until much later. When she first mentioned him, I thought he was just a friend. Jack gave Mother the keys to his Malibu beach house, and we went to stay there a few nights, though Jack wasn't there. The house was a beautiful white-colored mansion located right on a private beach. The backyard had a swimming pool and a hot tub with a gate leading right onto the shoreline. Mother had a small get-together at the beach house, and she invited James and his family along with some other friends. James didn't show up, but his father Artie did. To my surprise, Maddie Humphreys, and her mother came over. Seeing Maddie for the first time in 6 years was a very peculiar experience. The last time we saw each other, we were just kids. Now she was a fully grown teenage girl, and from looking through her Facebook pictures, I knew she was popular. She was a typical pretty girl who had lots of pretty friends. She was one of them, one of the popular kids. My first friend in America, someone I played with innocently as a child, had grown up to represent the type of people who have caused me so much pain in my life. I was very nervous talking to her, as I had no experience talking to young girls, but I had to make the effort. She seemed weirded out by my awkwardness. It was cringeworthy. While staying at the beach house, I invited Philip and Addison over to hang out, as they were always in Malibu together. They came to pick me up, and while I was in the car with them, Addison kept talking about how successful he has been at mingling with the popular kids at Malibu High School. He kept talking about all of the parties he's been to and all of the pretty girls he has met. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Addison actually did it. He succeeded in becoming popular at his school. In such a short time, he was able to accomplish what I've been trying to do my whole life. I was extremely jealous, and that was not the worst of it. As I spent more time with them that night, I noticed that Addison's new status amongst the popular Malibu crowd had changed his attitude. It made him very cocky and arrogant. He treated me like a loser the whole time. Later that night, he ditched me and Philip to go to a party with some girls that he knew from Malibu. I was seething with rage. We then went to the Santa Monica Pier. Yeah, I spent time there. They used to have those concerts, Pier concerts. I guess they still do, right? I remember when I knew the person who started those concerts, and I met her, and I actually had lunch with her to ask at somebody's encouragement, so I could ask her about the music industry, because back then I wanted to break into the music industry. Isn't that funny? Didn't have any memory of all that I had done. Still. But yeah, I do remember some stuff she told me. It's kind of interesting. I used to love going to the Santa Monica Pier as a child, but now it was a piece of vileness. After putting up with Addison's insulting behavior, this was too much. I became so upset that I tried my first cigarette. Okay. I would end up smoking a few times after that, though I would quit within a few weeks due to it having no effect on me. When Philip dropped me back to the beach house, I walked to the beach in the middle of the night and yelled out my anguish to the rolling ocean. Well, I think that's healthy. You got to get it out some way, and you're not hurting anyone doing that, and I'm sure the ocean received all that you gave her, right? Spiritually speaking. After that last experience with Philip and Addison, my attitude changed. My newfound optimism about life subsided. That's too bad. And I began feeling intense rage, anger, and hatred towards the world again. The way Addison treated me made me realize what the world thinks of me. If I was one of those popular kids, Addison would have treated me with deference and respect, but I wasn't. I was a complete loser in his eyes and everyone else's. No effort I made in the last few months changed the way the world saw me. The world still viewed me as a weak and undesirable loser, even though I changed my wardrobe and started working out. What was the point anymore? I asked myself. I couldn't help but feel anger and hatred. Life was too unfair to me. I continued going on walks around my mother's house in the desperate hope that I might possibly cross paths with some pretty girl who would be attracted to me. I would have been satisfied with that. Sometimes I spent 2 or 3 hours wandering around the neighborhood. It was all I could do. I never met any girl. Each walk left me bitterly disappointed, and eventually I stopped doing it altogether. You okay? What are you doing, baby? What are you doing? Okay. Okay. What are you doing? Okay. All right, good girl. My time at Pierce College became more miserable each day I went there. I despised having to take the bus. It was embarrassing and stressful, and it sucked all of the pride out of me. And for what? To go to one class where I didn't talk to anyone? There was no point in it anymore. I couldn't stand the feeling of loneliness I had there. No one wanted to be my friend. It just wasn't worth the trouble. I decided to drop my class. Okay, too bad for you. It wasn't about others. It was about you improving your life. And if, you know, you were getting your driver's license, weren't you? I mean, you know, it's because you didn't want to drive earlier that you aren't driving, you know. You got to take responsibility. Okay. My mother got very angry that I dropped my class at Pierce, even though I thoroughly explained to her the reasons. This was when she started pressuring me to get a job. Getting a job is something I never thought about before in my life, and I soon realized that the older I became, the more it was expected of me if I didn't go to college. To placate my mother, I started searching for jobs online every day, but I wasn't able to find one that was suitable for me. Okay. I felt hatred and dissatisfaction with the world and society. But I didn't want to hide away from it anymore. I needed to be as productive with my time as possible, and I had a lot of free time at this point. The best way to make use of this time, I concluded, was to spend it self-educating myself. Knowledge is power. I began a daily routine of walking to Barnes & Noble in Calabasas every day, where I would spend hours reading books that ranged from biographies of powerful leaders, histories of significant periods, self-help books, philosophy and psychology texts, and historical fiction novels. David. That's David. I sometimes even spent entire days there, from the time it opened to the time it closed. In the afternoons, to my extreme rage, I sometimes saw young couples strolling through the store. Sometimes they would even sit on the reading chairs, kissing and fondling each other. Whenever I saw this, I got so overcome by envy and heartbreak that I went to the bathroom to cry. The occasional couples didn't stop me from going there, however, because it was the most beneficial thing for me to do at that moment. Well, good. I'm glad you had that sense, the sense to know that much anyway. I still met up with Philip and Addison occasionally, even though I hated Addison. Okay, so he offended you a little bit. Why do you have to hate him? They provided me with a sense of social life and a way for me to vent about my troubles. Addison treated me like a lowlife every time I hung out with them, and he kept bragging about the girls he met at parties in Malibu. I indignantly accused him of lying, as that was what I wanted to believe. He was only amused by my envy. I then found that Addison deleted me from his Facebook friends list out of the blue. Yeah. This was the last slight I would bear from him, and I subsequently sent him a hateful Facebook message in response. I then viewed Addison as a bitter enemy of mine. Oh my goodness, so extreme. He truly was a disgusting and treacherous little bastard. Addison was once in the same position as I, but right when he succeeded in integrating with the popular kids, he betrayed me and treated me the same way the popular kids treated me, as if I'm low-life scum. The world, careful. What is it? What's going on? Okay. I don't know what's going on. How long have I been on? I don't even remember. It was 1:30. Yeah, so it's been 2 hours almost, right? A little less than 2 hours. The world truly is a brutal place where a man must fight a bitter struggle against all other men to reach the top. Humans are nothing but vicious beasts in a jungle. He's describing animality in Buddhism. Hey. Dean's home. Hi, Dean.
Max.
All right. Thank you.
I think it's Harbor Freight. What they pay part time.
All right.
Okay, $15.50 part time.
That's like minimum wage, okay? Nowadays.
Not around here's not. Not around here's not.
Okay, why? You want to go over there and work?
Well, I've got my Social Security. It's an idea for you. If you work 20 hours a week, you make $300.
Yeah, when am I going to work taking care of Elizabeth?
I know.
Yeah, it is more than what I make from Elizabeth. Yeah, $15 an hour.
$20.
Before taxes.
20 hours a week, you make $300. Right? Right?
Actually, I do make a little more than that if it's $1,200 a month, right? I do make, before taxes, I do make about, I would say I average maybe $1,500. And, you know, that's less than what I'm supposed to make per week with Elizabeth. But I take what I can get, right?
Yeah. Well, I just saw that.
I certainly don't have time to do any other job if I'm taking care of Elizabeth. You know that.
I just saw that $15.50 an hour part time. Like, damn, sweet. You work 20 hours, you make $300.
Wait, 20 hours a week? You make what? 300, and then it's 3 times 4, 1,200. That's part-time job, right?
Yeah, part time.
Right. My job is 24/7, and I probably take home maybe, I mean, after, I don't know what it is after taxes, because I won't know till the end of the year, but, you know, maybe slightly more than that, working 24/7, even though my salary is $1,700 a week.
Do you know what that is?
That she can't pay me.
You know what that is? It's like being born into a family running a damn farm.
Yeah.
And by the time you're 2 years old, you're feeding the chickens, or you're milking a cow, or whatever. 7 days a week.
You're doing whatever you need. You do what you need to do to survive, you know. That's what our ancestors did. Yeah. And I feel like one of my ancestors. I don't feel like the descendant who reaps the rewards of my ancestors. I feel like my ancestors doing that hard drudgery work.
They got off the fucking farm and got a regular job.
Okay, I'm live, so I got to continue reading this. I want to get it done. I'm only on page 65. Oh my gosh, I'm determined. Oh, gotta get this done. Gotta stop talking. I gotta get this done. All right, so where was I? Humans are nothing but vicious beasts in a jungle. That is so extreme. Yeah, I mean, that is one world in the 10 worlds when it comes to Nichiren Buddhism. The top world, you know, the highest world, we'll say, being Buddhism, Buddhahood. Yeah, that's part of the lower worlds, whereas no, it's hell, hunger, anger, animality. It's like, it's 4 up, right? Well, 3 up from hell. And yeah, our world is like full of animality. It's all about, you know, the jungle and survival of the fittest, and, you know, fear, and yeah. And that's what Trump is all about. I don't know about you, but I'm not an animal. I mean, I'd like to think that I am on a higher level than an animal. All right, so I delved more into learning. Well, see, that's good that he's learning. See, learning and realization is one of the higher worlds, okay? I think it's the first of the 4 highest worlds in Nichiren Buddhism. Learning, realization, bodhisattvahood, Buddhahood. Learning and realization is kind of the gateway, but you can get really trapped in learning and realization. They call it the what? It's like a oh, it's referred to as something, and it's escaping me. I'm thinking bicycle, but it's not. It's learning and realization. It's the it can be a real block, you know, because you're so consumed with yourself when you're learning and realizing, you know, having realizations and learning. And I love to learn. That's learning is like a drug for me, and I love realizing everything. But if I don't have a heart for others, if I can't put others ahead of myself, I get stuck in that vicious cycle of learning and realization. It's a block for most people. And in the ceremony in the air, in the Lotus Sutra, it describes the ceremony in the air, all these learned scholars and men of the highest achievement, they thought they were the first ones who were enlightened or going to achieve enlightenment. And what do you know? It's a young 8-year-old dragon girl who achieves enlightenment first. That's me, okay? I'm the Zodiac killer's daughter and the Dragon King's daughter, okay? Otherwise known as the Dragon King's daughter in the Lotus Sutra. In our world, I'm the Zodiac King's... not the Zodiac King's. The Zodiac killer's daughter. In the Lotus Sutra, I'm known as the Dragon King's daughter. I'm the Dragon Girl. And she's 8. She's a child. She's female. She's a dragon. These are all, all previous teachings on Earth and teachings since always teach, a girl, a female can't become enlightened. A child cannot become enlightened, and certainly not a dragon. A dragon become enlightened? Are you crazy? Right? That's me. I'm the exception to all rules, okay? That's the dragon girl. She's the exception to all rules. To teach all those stupid, idiot, self-absorbed, pompous men, they don't know shit. And, they're like, how did this insignificant female child dragon achieve what we've studied our whole lives to achieve? How did she do it in an instant? And here we are. We're like, we've been working on it our whole lives and we haven't even gotten close. What's the secret? And she says, and they didn't believe it, right? And she goes, well, watch me. And she twirls around and she becomes all these different lives and all these different people. And, in my life, I was allowed to be all these different kinds of people, and when I was 8 years old, I was allowed to. I know it sounds really trippy and doesn't sound real, but I really am the dragon girl, literally. And the dragon girl grew up, and I'm 57 now. I'm not a child anymore. I am a woman, a female. I guess I still am considered a dragon, which I guess, would mean that, I had a really hard life, right? I mean, I went through the impossible. I was used, and abused. Sorry to use that word. Algorithm. Please forgive me, algorithm. I guess you could say that refers to, that's the dragon in me, right? But I'm still pure and I'm able, even though I was defiled, right? I still retained my purity. Daddy taught me no one can take away my purity. And I believed him. I was a baby and babies believe with their whole heart. That's the superiority of babies. That's the advantage of being a baby. You believe with your whole heart. And that stayed with me my whole life. No one can take my purity away. Nobody. No matter what they do to me, they can't take my purity away. Unless I let them. And I wasn't going to let them. And so I showed that assembly of men, arrogant, stupid, idiot, delusional men who think they're so smart, so clever. I showed them. And here I am, 57, and, it's not, you have to really study, the Lotus Sutra to understand that the Dragon Girl is Jogyo, the leader of the Bodhisattvas of the earth. It's a girl. It's a woman. It's, the first one who achieves enlightenment in the assembly. That is the leader of the Bodhisattvas of the earth. They don't come from the sky flying with their sparkly little wings and, no, they're down and dirty in the depths of the earth. They're not all perfect and crystal clean, and they're in the mud, filthy dirty. That's me, right? That's what I come from. Like the lotus blossom, it was all that dirt and filth that fueled my enlightenment. That's how true enlightenment works. Okay. Anyway, the lotus blossom, just for the record, the lotus blossom, also represents the simultaneity of cause and effect, because it's the only flower in existence, or, that both seeds and blossoms at the same time. That's a highly unusual feature of a flower, and that's why it's come to represent the simultaneity of cause and effect. In reality, cause and effect is simultaneous. It doesn't want, the egg did not come before the chicken didn't become before the egg. They're simultaneous. I am, right now I am the Gerber baby. I am in 1994, and I'm me now, and I'm, 100 years old if I live that long, and I hope I do, and I'm healthy, and I have the support I need. All at once. That's the way life is in reality. Here on Earth, our perception is quite distorted, and we can't see it that way. It's like everything happens, in a linear way, and when things are simultaneous, it's vertical. Everything's happening all at once, kind of blossoming like a big, huge flower, you could say, And so anyone who thinks they can erase, there are a lot of stupid Buddhists like Larry Shaw who think they can erase the effect. They can make bad causes, and because they're a Buddhist, they can just erase the effect they created with that cause. Okay, this was a lie that was propagated when I think it actually originates in the priesthood, the Nichiren Shoshu priesthood. Oh yeah, you can just erase, you can be in total control of your existence. I really think it came from the priesthood. It's an erroneous idea to think, oh, let me just erase let me commit a crime and I'll just erase, the consequence of that crime, and I'll get away with it, and all these criminals like David, they're getting away with their crimes, and they're thinking, oh yeah, it works. Yeah. The Gohanzen is a very powerful thing. It really literally is the mirror of the universe, the mirror of your life that you're chanting to, that scroll that Nichiren Buddhists chant to in their altar, enshrined in their altar. I mean, I guess these devils think it's just like a scroll, right? But it really is a mirror, a literal mirror that gives you back what you put into it. If you're tricking the universe, yeah, I'm a criminal and I'm getting away with it, woohoo! I'm a Buddhist, all of you are stupid, I'm the master of the universe, Yeah, devil behavior. But I don't think David would say that now. I think as criminal, what happens is the universe, the Gohanzen, it's a graphic depiction. It's a scroll with ancient writing on it that depicts. It's a graphic depiction of your highest potential, which is your enlightened self. If you use it uses you right back. It's just giving you back what you put into it.
Okay, yeah, okay, let me erase my effect. Okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna steal. I'm gonna like mislabel Claire a threat to national security, and then she'll be top secret. We can wipe her out. She'll die, and my daughter Vanessa will be the replacement. She'll be the new and improved Claire. We didn't need Claire. Claire's like messed up, that's a messed up story. We don't need all that stuff, all the story of Cozen and Rufus. Oh, that's crap. Let's just make up our own story, and it doesn't matter, it's just a story. My story's better than their story. Yeah, Vanessa.
And I have nothing against Vanessa. I think she's a really nice girl, and I really I've never known her personally. I just know her as an acquaintance in the organization. I watched her grow up, and we say hello to each other, we know each other, but it's like we keep a distance. She knows how I feel, she knows my opinion. And I know she's, juggling a lot. She's got a lot of pressure on her from many people. She actually grew up inside the organization for her whole life. I had the luxury of having a little space. Thank the Lord Almighty. And as a result, she's, she is assertive, but in some ways, but not when it comes to her father. And it just makes me sick. And, I don't think she could, she's not as strong as I am. She's not as independent. She's totally intermingled with her family. She doesn't know reality without her family. And I understand that. That's the way most people are. I've never had a family, so I don't know what that's like, but I understand. I wouldn't expect anyone to, she wouldn't, she went to Columbia like I did many years after me. I'm like 10 years older than her. Wait, she was born in 76. I'm 11 years older than her. And, well, she was born in July, almost 11 years. I guess it was July she was born. I forget, but around there, 76. Yeah, I see the time. I'm going to have to go soon, but, and I said I wasn't going to go into all these things, but I have to. They're requiring me to do this, okay? It's not me that would want to do this. I have done it in little ways here and there over time. They want it all in one place at one time, I guess. I guess this is the only way I'm going to have my life. So my apologies to Vanessa. I have nothing against Vanessa. I really have nothing against her mother either, the mother who gave birth to her. I am her genetic mother, but, her mother is Susan. She uses her maiden name. I caused Larry and her divorce, and I'm happy. I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud to have woken Susan up to following her intuition. She was resisting following her intuition for many years because of the pressure put on her by the organization. And finally, she realized that was the wrong way to go, and she did the right thing and divorced the guy. And it was the best thing that she ever did. And DeMonte, that's her name, Susan DeMonte. She's an actress in her own right. She sacrificed her own career for her daughter's career, or both her daughters. But, Vanessa is the most well-known actor in the family. I have a lot of respect for her, Susan, and I'm really sorry about everything. But, Vanessa is the new and improved me. Okay. I'm not supposed to exist. I was supposed to die a long time ago. Vanessa was supposed to replace me. This was Larry's master plan, to replace me, and then he would be master of the universe. He would be, I guess, the Dragon King, and she would be the Dragon King's daughter. And, he had planned on, living with his daughter in Topanga. He was preparing for his his wife's death. You know, she had a very Crohn's disease, was it? Susan overcame like the impossible health wise, and so he knew she was sick, and he thought she was going to die, and then Vanessa would replace his wife too. I mean, that's how sick this guy is. And Vanessa, being his daughter, he brainwashed her her whole life, and she goes with the program. And you know, she's not the kind of person who wants to rock the boat. You know, she goes with the program. You know, and she, you know, most people born to a person like that, to a man like that, you know, they're not going to be very independent, because people, you know, abuser, I said the word, abusers like that, take away, you know, they permanently harm a child. I mean, he's in psychology. He thinks he's some master healer. You know, he's got he now has a PhD. And he specializes in trauma, wouldn't you know it, because he put his daughter through so much. He has to heal her. He's well known. He's, you know, he appeared in the Michael Jackson Leaving Neverland. He was instrumental in getting that young man, one of those guys that came forward to report Michael, or to come forward, and at least he did that much. But how ironic that one of my abusers, who did so much damage to me and my life, would ever help some other victim that somebody else damaged. Okay. How ironic, you know, if he was really somebody who cared. He you know, he's a fraud. I know he probably drugs. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't a witness. I wasn't there. But I know he, you know, he's a fraud. He's not a healer. He doesn't want to help anyone. He's a PHILE. And I'm sorry to be honest. Go ahead. I mean, I have nothing. You can't sue me. And, you know, even if you could, even if I had something, you know, to get, you know, I would be able to stand up to you in court and tell my story, and, you know, there's no way you would ever win. You're guilty. You know, I mean, there's so many guilty parties, okay? They're all guilty, and, you know, they all wanted me to go away. They you know, they've been trying to kill me off forever, and here I am. Hi. You know, meanwhile, he's trying so hard to heal his daughter, and his daughter is amazing. Vanessa's amazing, but, you know, she's not independent and strong like me, you know, no offense to her. She's had an incredible career. She's beautiful. She's my genetic daughter. I'm so proud of her. She's a good person too. You know, that's unusual. That's hard. You know, that's hard to come by in Hollywood. And, you know, she had a really good mother. But, you know, she's not you know, if you knew the story behind the scenes, you'd be so shocked. I mean, she's not had the perfect life. Everything's presented like everybody's perfect. No, that's a facade. And behind the facade, she is not a healthy person. I know she puts on a really good face, and she's got it. She appears to have it together. And I was really upset when she had a baby, you know, a little while ago. I know she made sure she was implanted with a boy. I know, because she knows I would have freaked out if she had a girl. Anyway, you know, you can abuse a boy too, but I don't know. I know nothing about her or her life. I'm not around them. You know, it's just unbelievable to me that so many people have gotten away with this for so long. And, you know, it's because they chant and they think that, you know, they think that they're masters of the universe. They think that, you know, they're so great because they know how to get away with shit. And but you know, Larry can't heal his daughter. He's tried everything therapy. You know, he knows so many therapies because he's trying to heal Vanessa. He you know, he loves Vanessa. I mean, that's the love of his life. And he's done every therapy on her, and she still suffers. You know, she puts on a good face. She never wanted to be really famous. He wanted her to be like Angelina Jolie or, you know, whatever big mega movie star. But no, she didn't, you know, she's an introvert. She doesn't want to do that. You know, she had an incredible career though for an introvert. She keeps things at bay. She doesn't want, you know, she wants to be able, you know, when she's in the organization, you know, she acts like a normal person. You know, she doesn't have any kind of attitude, and I really respect her for that. That's because of her mom. And yeah, I mean, but everybody, you know, everybody pretends they're pal with her, but you know, she's royalty in the organization, and you know, she does not have a normal existence. She does not experience things the way a normal member experiences things. Everything's given to her, handed to her. She's had a really you know, easy life. Everything just was given to her, you know, and her father, you know what goes on to, you know, in Hollywood, Hollywood's not what it appears either. There's a lot of sex. There's a lot of, you know, I mean, you have to sell, you really, you know, the part does not go to the best actor always. It goes to the person who's willing to do what they need to do to get the part. And, you know what Larry does to get Vanessa's parts. I mean, you know, I saw it for myself once when she was 15. I saw her, you know, DRUGGED with date RAPEDRUGS. I saw it with my own eyes because I was also DRUGGED. And, you know, I was 25, she was 15. What was done to me was done to her. I mean, but, you know, she was a 15-year-old girl. You know, and these leaders in the SJ, oh yeah, passing her body around and just helping themselves, and Larry commanding, okay, you're next. Her father doing this to her. Like, it's okay. As long as she's not conscious, it won't hurt her. Well, Larry, I guess you were wrong, right? Because you're still trying to heal Vanessa. You're still trying to help her, aren't you? Yeah, she looks like she's great. She's a very good actress, right? She's an actress in real life too. I mean, it's not just on the screen. She's an actress in real life. She's a walking actress. You don't know how she suffers behind the scenes. She chants a lot of daimoku to get through every day. She, you know, they've propped her up, and it's amazing. I mean, I can't believe how well she does and how perfect she appears. I can't even believe it. And that's not Kozenrufu, you know. How could that be Kozenrufu, Larry? How could that be world peace? Is that true happiness? I can see that you have remorse. You feel bad for her. You want to help her. You want to. I'm sure you chant lots of daimoku for her, but she still is suffering. I mean, of course I suffer too, but I haven't had all the support she's had. She's had overabundance of support. You know, everybody thinks she's perfect, and everybody thinks I'm such a loser. You know, imperfect, and I am, and I'm the real deal. She's an actress playing a part. That's the difference between Vanessa and me. And I want to say I love her. I don't know her, but I do. I really love her. I appreciate her, and I'm sorry for all she's had to go through, because I know it's been hard for her. But, you know, you don't see her crying on a live stream and showing all her, you know, behind the scenes shit. You don't. You would never. Because she has to play the role perfectly, because she represents the SGI. She, you know what I mean? She represents her family. You know, she's always like, she doesn't even know who she is. And no offense to you, Vanessa, but you know I'm speaking the truth. And I'm sad for you, and I'm sorry. All right, there's somebody at my door. I don't know what's going on. Give me a moment. I'll be right back. Okay. Yeah, I will have to end this soon, and I never anticipate talking about all that I do. It just happens. And that's what this manifesto, as I've said again and again, this is what this manifesto, it's the purpose of this manifesto. I really do believe so. All right, let me just read a little more. It's a little after 4:03 p.m. here in Augusta, Georgia. I'm just going to read a little more, and then I'm going to conclude things for this particular live stream, and I'll be back because I got to do this. I got to get this done. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. I mean, it's like, I don't know how many more hours this is going to take me. I mean, I'm only on 65. I'm not even halfway. 65, that's 130. It's almost halfway through, because really it's 137 pages long, and I'm almost halfway through, and it's taken me like, what, how many days? I don't know. I'm really, I don't know if I'm going to make it unless I just speed read the rest of it. That's what my husband Dean was suggesting I do. Well, anyway, let's just read a little more, and then we'll pick up where I left off next time. Okay. All right, so he's talking about spending his days at Barnes & Noble in Calabasas every day, reading a whole range of books to try to educate himself on all subject matter. He says, I sometimes even spent entire days there from the time it opened to the time it closed. In the afternoons, to my extreme rage, I sometimes saw young couples strolling through the store. I guess Hi, Wispy. I guess I read this. Yeah. Sometimes they would even sit on the reading chairs, kissing and fondling each other. Whenever I saw this, I got so overcome by envy and heartbreak that I went to the bathroom to cry. The occasional couples didn't stop me from going there, however, because it was the most beneficial thing for me to do at that moment. Okay, I already read that. Sorry. Okay, and I started reading this paragraph. I still met up with Philip and Addison occasionally, even though I hated how Addison, he's always hating people. They provided me with a sense of social life and a way for me to vent about my troubles. Addison, I've read this, I'm sorry, treated me like a lowlife every time I hung out with them, and he kept bragging about the girls he met at parties in Malibu. He accuses him of lying. He was amused by his envy. Addison was. Right, and he deleted him as a Facebook friend. Okay, and he calls him a disgusting and treacherous little bastard. Okay. And he was once like him. And now he's calling him a low-life scum. Okay. The world truly is a brutal place. Yeah, he's talking about animality, and that's where I went into the world of animality and Buddhism. And yeah, it's true. A lot of the world is in that state of life. It's a lower world. Just understand that. It's not a higher world. It's a lower world. And you don't want to be there. And if you are there, thank goodness all the other 10 worlds are in each of the worlds. So if you don't like where you're at, you can find Buddhahood there, no matter what world. Even if you're in hell, there's Buddhahood there. And even if you're in Buddhahood, though, there's also hell there. So you can turn hell around. You can turn animality around. There's always a way to transform your life. Always. You're never trapped and stuck. And that's something this Elliot Rodger in this manifesto doesn't seem to realize. Even though the author of this manifesto has been chatting for like 50 years. I mean, one could argue that I feel stuck, and I'm trying to do something about it. I'm trying to rack my brains, trying to find that Buddhahood in this situation. You know, I'm trying to find the Buddhahood in this situation. I'm trying. I'm live streaming. You know, there's more I'll do. You know, I need to clean and organize my house. I mean, I can't think of anything else I need to do. I mean, speaking out, live streaming. I really feel this is key. Okay, it came over me this week. It feels like I need to do this, and I have a deadline, and I'm doing my best to make the deadline. What can I tell ya? Maybe they'll forgive me if it's overnight. I mean, as long as it's in time for Monday morning, I really don't know. You know, I just can't believe that everybody is so rigid. Would be, you know, if there is such a deadline, that it would be so rigid and harsh, you know, with somebody like me who's been through so much. I mean, okay. All right, so this is where I was at. I was in this new paragraph here. Okay, so he's saying humans are nothing but vicious beasts in a jungle. That is not true. They can be. A lot of people are, but that's not the end all be all. You know, there's so much more potential that humans have, that you have. It's not all gloom and doom like this. I delved more into learning as much as I could from books at Barnes & Noble. I expanded, this is, you know, it's so funny, I guess, you know, David he that's like his office, Barnes & Noble. It's been that way since I can remember, you know. I guess now he probably can do more online, but back in the day when there wasn't any internet, or you know, the internet wasn't as good, he was always at Barnes & Noble. It was his second office. That's how he learned all about DNA and the genome and stuff when it was first being discovered in the 1990s and everything. He was fascinated by that stuff, and he would only buy the books that were really important to him, you know. He wouldn't buy them if it wasn't really important. So I delved more into learning as much as I could from books at Barnes & Noble. I expanded on the political and philosophical ideas I concocted when I was 17, and soon became even more radical about them than I ever was before. It was all fueled by my wish to punish everyone who is sexually active, because I concluded that it wasn't fair that other people were able to experience sex while I have been denied it all my life. I started to have the desire to create a world where no one is allowed to have sex or relationships. I mean, it sounds like a joke. What, are you kidding? Again, I saw that as the perfect, fair world. No one is allowed. No! Put that back in your pants right now! You're not allowed! You're not allowed to go to the bathroom, everybody, okay? Or relationships. Boy, he extends it to even relationships. I again saw that as the perfect fair world Reproduction can be accomplished without sex through artificial insemination. Sex is evil, as it gives too much pleasure to those who don't deserve it. Oh my goodness. I shaped all of these ideals through learning and self-educating myself for hours every day. My personality became even more rigid, and I started to dress in very conservative attire. I went with my mother to the yearly Christmas party at the Limelsons. I spent most of the time with James, discussing with him further about my ideals. We also played a lot of video games with Noah and his friends. I thought he was done with video games. I guess it was just World of Warcraft he was done with, huh? Noah was very interested in Nintendo games, and he had a lot of them. Playing games with them reminded me of a time long ago in my past when I played Nintendo 64 as a child, blissfully living life in a world that I thought was good. I longed to be a child again, like Peter Pan, to be in a bright place away from the cruel darkness of reality. I will always treasure those memories. I had to go Christmas shopping, and I decided to do it at the Calabasas Commons. I was always going there anyway. While walking around, I ran into Maddie, who was there with her boyfriend. For some strange reason, I have never had any sexual attraction towards Maddie, despite the fact that she's a blonde girl, and I'm obsessed with blondes. Perhaps it was because she used to be my friend when we were children. I don't know. Because I wasn't attracted to her, I didn't find myself feeling as much jealousy as one might think I would in such a situation. It was still very awkward. I just said hello to her quickly and walked away. On New Year's Eve of 2010, okay, that's, wow, so we're talking like, okay, this wasn't that long ago. Yeah, I guess he's almost at the age when he died. The day that marked the end of the decade, I caught a terrible illness and had to stay in bed for the whole afternoon as well as the next day. My mother was going to go to one of her friends' houses, but she felt sorry for me and stayed at home. I spent the whole time lying in my bed, brooding about my life. I don't know what was worse, the physical pain I felt from the sickness or the emotional pain and rage I had towards the world. I would say the latter. Okay. When the illness had passed on the following afternoon, I thought how it caused me to waste my New Year's holiday in my room. But then I mused that I would have done the same thing anyway, whether I was sick or not, because I had no friends to celebrate New Year's with. So what? In spirit, you can celebrate with as many friends as you want. I checked Addison's Facebook profile with one of my stalking accounts, and I saw that he went to a huge New Year's party at a mansion with his popular Malibu friends. He took lots of pictures of himself posing with various girls. I hated him so much when I saw that. The level of hatred I felt was unreal. He was doing everything I wanted to do. Why him and not me? I cursed at the world. What was seen can never be unseen, and I will never forget it, nor will I forgive it. Oh my gosh. My hope that I will one day have a beautiful girlfriend and live the life I desire slowly faded away. I was in the same dark and miserable place I had been a year previously, lonely, unwanted, miserable, and seething with rage at the world. I kept thinking about how some boys were easily able to get girlfriends straight after they went through puberty. I couldn't fathom how they did it, and I hated and despised them for it. You know, some people are just late bloomers. You know, if he had just given himself a little more time, it would have naturally happened to him. He's a very attractive boy. I don't know what his problem was, you know. I wish he had had some adult in his environment, or a therapist or a doctor or somebody to encourage him, you know, to help him through all of these emotions and thought patterns and help him see sense in the chaos. You know, I think he's, you know, I'm so sad for him. I kept thinking about Leo Bubenheim and how he kissed that girl Nicole at the Sagebrush Cantina when he was only 12. 12! He was able to have an intimate experience with a girl when he was only 12. And there I was at 18, still a kissless virgin. So what? You know, it could, you know,
once it happened, you know, you would have caught up. You know, there's no competition. Everybody's different. When he's like 30, you'll be doing something he won't be doing. You know, I mean, it all evens out in the end. You know, you shouldn't be keeping track like that, like thinking you're some failure because this person did something at this age and you can't. You know, it's like you'll do it when you're ready, and you know, everybody's ready at different times. It's not a competition like that. It's sick to make it a competition, honestly. You're setting yourself up for failure when you do that, and it becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy when you do that. Okay. My envy of Leo became an obsession. I kept asking my sister for information about him, but she refused to tell me anything. Okay, so it's 4:17, and I started a little after 1:30. So 3:30 was 2 hours. It's a little over 2. It's over 2 hours, almost going on 3 pretty soon. I'm not going to go all the way to 3 hours, but I'm going to go a little longer. I frightfully wondered if he's talking about Leo, his envy of Leo. I frightfully wondered if he had lost his virginity already, and he most likely had. He was a popular kid, and girls desired him. Leo was happily living his heavenly life with the knowledge that he's worth something to the world, while I had to wallow in my misery and loneliness. Life is not fair. It doesn't appear fair a lot of times until, you know, you can't have the broad perspective of the universe. You know, so while you're here on Earth, it really doesn't feel fair. It really doesn't. The little details do not feel fair at all. And it's not, at least now. But in the end, justice is always done. The truth always prevails in the end. And that's hard to believe when you're down here, if you feel stuck and, you know, all the filth clouds your vision, and you can't really see clearly as the result. And you know, in the end, the truth always prevails. I guarantee, I assure everyone who is watching. Okay. So Leo was happily living his heavenly life with the knowledge with the knowledge that he's worth something to the world, while I have to wallow in my misery and loneliness. Life is not fair. One can either accept that fact, keeling over in defeat, or one can harness the strength to fight against it. It's not about fighting against it. Just accept that it may not appear to be fair right now, and it's not fair right now, but justice will be done. It always is, whether people like it or not. There's no fighting against it, and it's like you're fighting yourself. You're you know, you're destroying your life when you do that. That's very sad that he thought it was either defeat or he fights against it. That's very sad. My destiny was to fight against the unfairness of the world. Stand up for what's right. Tell the truth. Contribute to the truth. Contribute to the good of the world. That's how you, if you want to call it fight, you know, against the unfairness of the world, just stand up for what's right. I mean, that's how you fight. You don't, I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like he's describing that, you know. My mother carried on pressuring me to get a job, and she would never leave me alone about it. She was a bit frustrated that I wasn't getting one. The two of us had a lot of arguments, and living with my mother became an extreme hassle. After signing me up to a program in the regional center, my mother found a life coach to counsel me and help me find a job. This life coach's name was Tony, a boisterous 40-year-old man who came to meet me every other week. I was open to going along with this. I had plenty of free time, and I was so lonely that my social interaction was welcome. That any social interaction was welcome. For our meetings, Tony usually took me out to lunch somewhere in the valley where he gave me advice on socializing and self-improvement. Well, that's nice.
I continued searching for a job, but still wasn't able to find one. I refused all of the jobs that Tony suggested to me. The problem was that most of the jobs that were available to me at the time were jobs I considered to be beneath me. Oh, okay, that's the problem. Okay. Well, why don't you go to college and get your degree so you can get better jobs? Go back to college.
No, going to service.
Yeah, that's another option, but I don't think he'd be good for the service. He probably wouldn't qualify because of he's got some mental health problems here. My mother wanted me to get a simple retail job, and the thought of myself doing that was mortifying. Hey, Dean, can you please keep it down? I'm not just talking to myself over here. All right. I know you are, but can you keep your voice down? Can you whisper? Okay. Because it's distracting. Okay. It would be completely against... Okay, so my mother wanted me to get a simple retail job, and the thought of myself doing that was mortifying. It would be completely against my character. I'm an intellectual who is destined for greatness. Aren't we all? I mean, I relate. I would never perform a low-class server's job. Well, you got to do what you got to do. I mean, you don't want to finish college. You don't want to get a degree. What are you going to do? What else are you going to do? I'm sure a lot of people say that about me. But it's a very different situation in my life, you know. I don't think he was abused like I was, and anyway, I have a job. I've had a job for 5 years taking care of Elizabeth, so I'm not unemployed. I have a job. I'm just not being paid what I've earned, and that's a problem. I mean, one thing if I was allowed to be paid what I earn, but I'm not, and so my father told me that I could work for his friend Carl Champley for a few weeks to help him build a staircase in his new house. Boy, so many connections, huh? So many people supporting you and helping you, and he's so fortunate, and he doesn't realize how fortunate he is. I knew Carl quite well, for he used to come over to Father's for dinner occasionally. Carl was just finishing up building his new house in Woodland Hills, just a few minutes away from my father's house, and he offered to hire me to help with the staircase. I agreed to take this job. Sure, construction work was lowly and laborious, but this was different. This was more like assisting a friend, and it would be in a private environment. It was the perfect temporary job opportunity, and it would most definitely get my mother off my back. I still wasn't able to drive because you didn't do what you needed to do to get your license. So I rode my bicycle there from my mother's house every morning. Good exercise too. The trip on the bicycle took 30 minutes. Yeah, a long haul. It was grueling to ride a bicycle up that steep, winding road every day, but it provided good exercise, which I was in need of. I worked with Carl every work day for about 3 weeks. It turned out to be quite a pleasant experience. Carl was very friendly, and I enjoyed working with him. When we finished the staircase, which was a spiral staircase that led up to his roof deck, we took a moment to admire the work we did. On my last day working for Carl, I decided to stop by at Father's house to have a drink. I was quite parched from the bicycle ride. I entered the house without knocking because I believed I had the right to. As the eldest son, boy, he's obsessed with that. The house should be my house after my father. That's a weird way of looking at it. Sumaya lived there. It's not your house. It's her house, too. I mean, that's strange. It's a strange way of viewing it. Sumaya was surprised to see me, and she got angry that I didn't knock. Yeah, it's her house. To teach me a lesson, she ordered me to go back outside and knock. I refused, telling her that she has no right to order me around anymore. I then helped myself to a glass of water. Oh my God. Sumaya knocked the glass out of my hand, and it shattered on the floor. Father clambered angrily up the stairs from his office, demanding to know what was going on. The three of us had a heated argument, and of course, Father took Sumaya's side. Well, it's her house. She lives there. That is his wife, and you no longer live there. It doesn't matter if you're the eldest son. Yes, I mean, your father has a responsibility to include you in his life if he cares about you. But no, that's not your house. They both kicked me out of the house, telling me that I'm not to return. Uh-oh. I felt betrayed and humiliated as I furiously made my way back to Mother's house. Yeah, he has some behavioral issues, he does. At that very moment, I hated both of them, and I wouldn't see either of them for many months. For those months, my father was dead to me. My mother was all I had left in this bleak world. He's so dramatic. Okay, so what are we doing here? Okay, we're almost to 19, but do I want to read all that right now? Let's see. Well, let's just keep reading a little longer. Okay, we're almost at 3 hours, actually. Okay, during that same week, I had a climactic meeting with Philip and Addison where my noxious feud with Addison Altendorf reached a boiling point. We went on an outing to the Griffith Park Observatory. That's a great place. I've been there. As we usually did when we got together. This time, my arguments with Addison were very intense. I tried to insult him as much as I could in a petty attempt to get revenge at him for all the insults and slights he dealt to me. We went back and forth at each other for the whole evening to the chagrin of poor Philip, who had to put up with it. By the end of the night, Addison said something to me that was so offensive it will haunt me forever. It rang true, and it rang true. No girl in this whole world will ever want to fuck you. I already felt that no girl in the world wanted to fuck me. I was a kissless virgin after all. This was the sole reason why I was suffering. But to hear it come from someone else, someone like Addison, really caused it to sink into the core of my mentality and emotions. That whole night made for a very vile and wicked experience. I decided not to see Philip and Addison for a long time. Because I was no longer seeing Philip and Addison, James was once again my only friend. I frequently talked to him over Skype. Sometimes I would go over to his house where the two of us went on our traditional walks around the Palisades town center. James still played World of Warcraft, and he was trying to get me back into it. I was quite tempted. After everything I had been through in the last few months, I did feel the urge to delve back into that void. Facing the world was tough, and it took its toll on me, especially since I've seen no results. I was still in the same position I'd always been, lonely, unwanted, and miserable. I found out that my mother was actually dating Jack, the wealthy man who owned the Malibu beach house. I always thought he was only her friend. My mother never told me or my sister about any men that she dated. She always kept that strictly private. I hadn't even met Jack yet. He was worth well over $500 million, and he owned other mansions in Bel Air and Beverly Hills. When I found out about this, I started to harbor the hope that my mother will get married to this man and will be part of a rich family. That will definitely be a way out of my miserable and insignificant life. Money would solve everything. That's how I feel sometimes. I started to frequently ask my mother to seek marriage with this man, or any wealthy man for that matter. She always adamantly refused and demanded that I stop talking about it. She told me that she never wanted to get married again after her experience with my father. I told her that she should sacrifice her well-being for the sake of my happiness, but this only offended her further. Yeah. At the beginning of summer, I finally received my driver's license. Oh, at last. You're 18, finally. I had to take the driving test twice before I passed it. Yeah, it can be tough. The first time I took it at the Winnetka DMV, and I made a few mistakes at the end, which caused me to fail it. After taking some lessons that my mother arranged for me, I gave the driving test another try at the Thousand Oaks DMV. This area was much easier to navigate around, so I managed to closely pass the test. Once my official driver's license came in the mail, my mother told me some good news. She received a new car from Jack, which meant she could give her older car to me. Wow, I now had a car of my own to drive. How nice. To be able to drive to any place I wanted to go provided me with a new sense of freedom that I never felt before. I felt more like an adult rather than a kid. I realized that I could start college again now that I had the ability to drive there. I registered for a summer class at Moore Park College. I read about Moore Park College online and found that it was a much better option than Pierce College. My mother and I drove up there to take a look. The campus was smaller in scale and more aesthetically pleasing. It was located in the town of Moore Park. Yeah, my clone used to live there. In a gorgeous mountain area near Thousand Oaks. I also saw a lot more beautiful girls there than I ever saw at Pierce. Everywhere I looked, I saw beautiful blonde girls walking around. This college was just right for me. In the days leading up to my first day at Moore Park, I felt a renewed sense of hope. A new college provided a new start, and this college looked perfect in every way. I had the hope that I could make it there, that I could make friends, meet some girls, and eventually find a pretty girl to be my girlfriend. I pictured her in my mind all the time, her cascading blonde hair, her beautiful face, her sensual body, everything. I imagined us walking hand in hand through the college, looking at the magnificent view of the mountains in the distance as the sun sets behind them. That would be heaven. That was what I wanted in life. Every single hate-fueled ideal worldview and philosophy I created in the past was a result of not being able to do that. I was very optimistic on the first day. When I walked onto the campus, I breathed in the fresh mountain air and admired my surroundings. I was in a new environment with lots of new possibilities. The class I took was a world history class, and it began on a good note. The class was well structured and the teacher was entertaining. After the class ended, I walked around the college for an hour to explore and ponder over how I can set my life right. Once again, I dared to hope that there could be a good future for me. My renewed hope gave me solace for a few days, but it did not last. Moore Park soon became a place of loneliness and despair, just like any other place I've attempted to thrive in. Yeah, you carry it with you wherever you go. You can't escape your karma, can you? You got to face your karma. You got to face the truth. You can't run away from it and expect to find something different somewhere else. The breaking point was when I saw good-looking couples walking along the area where I dreamed of walking with a girlfriend. To watch another boy experience it with a beautiful girl who should be mine, why should she be yours, was a living hell. I constantly asked myself what I did wrong in life to be unable to have a beautiful girlfriend. It was no better. You know, it's so funny. My life sucks, and yeah, sometimes I question what I have done, and but I really am sincerely trying to take inventory and figure out what I need to do next to improve my situation. Okay. It was no better inside the classroom. There was one obnoxious jock with a buzz cut who was taking the class with his gorgeous girlfriend. They always sat next to each other, talking and touching each other with affection. Every day I had to see this, and my envy grew and grew. I constantly glared at them with raw hatred. Not just hatred, raw hatred. Oh my gosh. What did I do wrong that he did right? Well, I do ask myself that a lot too about my own situation. I yelled out to the universe. He uses the term the universe. That's what Buddhists use. And, yeah, I mean, David would use the universe. He would say the universe. Wow, that's what Nichiren Buddhists say, the universe, right? You hear me saying it a lot. I yelled to the universe on the way home, why does he deserve the love of a beautiful girl and not me? Why do girls hate me so? Questions and questions. All I could do was question why I was suffering so much injustice in life. Well, it just seems like he was creating his own reality with his complaining nature. He was expecting to lose and fail and not get what he wants because it seems like he was waiting to complain every moment of every day. I'm trying to see where I was. Okay. My mother one day told me that I should become a writer because I had some talent in writing. Yeah, That was strange to hear. For my whole life, I was never talented at anything. I tried. I was too physically weak to play sports with other boys when I was little. I never became professional at skateboarding, no matter how much I practiced. That's not true. You stopped practicing, and that's why you didn't become professional. You got discouraged when you saw kids 2 years younger than you mastering tricks that you couldn't do. I mean, they started younger than you, and somebody taught them. And you could learn, and you could have surpassed them eventually. I don't know. You've got the wrong attitude. And I was never that skilled at any video games I played. That's not true. Even World of Warcraft. Steve, that's not true. He did really well, I thought. Steve and Mark were able to play their characters more skillfully than I ever did, and they started the game much later than me. Deep down, I've always known that I had no talents, and I've always tried not to think about it. Well, I don't know about the details, but I don't know. I think you did pretty well in those games. I don't know why you're getting down just because a couple guys, I don't know. Maybe they started earlier than you know. I don't know. You might not know the whole story. Indeed, it was strange to hear my mother say that I could become a talented writer, but it did give me an idea. I started to wonder if I actually could become a writer. I could write an epic fantasy story that will be made into a movie, and I will become rich from it. Being rich will definitely make me attractive enough to have a beautiful girlfriend. It was not impossible, and working towards it would give me something to live for. I mulled it over in my mind for a while. Yeah, how much? All right, I might as well just read this. I didn't think I was going to, but maybe I will. We went to Jack's beach house in Malibu to spend a couple nights there. My mother called me on the phone to tell me the plan while I was at college. It was a lonely and depressing day at school, and I was glad to be able to have some respite. Respite. I forget how to pronounce it now. I remember it was accent. Respite. Is that how you say it, Dean?
I guess so, yeah.
Respite. Is it respite? Yeah, it's respite. At the lovely beach house. Okay, so it was a lonely and depressing day at school, and I was glad to be able to have some respite at the lovely beach house. I immediately drove there from Moore Park after my class was finished. Mother had a few of her friends over, and she bought a lot of delicious food. After stuffing myself with portions from every dish and drinking multiple glasses of wine, I went on a long and peaceful walk on the beach, wishing I had a girlfriend to walk beside me. Before I went to bed, I thought a lot more about the possibility of becoming rich. If I was a millionaire and owned a house like the one I was spending that night in, I could have any girl I want. Being in that position would make up for all of the misery I've had to go through in the past, and making up for it is my most important goal in life. My one wish is to feel satisfied for the way my life is. I seriously started to consider working towards writing an epic story, and that's what this is, isn't it? I was always creating stories in my mind to fuel my fantasies. Usually those stories depicted someone like myself rising to power after a life of being treated unfairly by the world. That's interesting. I mentally examined all of those stories I had developed and focused on the few that I thought would become bestsellers. If I could get one of them made into a movie, I would definitely be a millionaire. It was the only solution to my problems. I saw myself as highly intelligent and magnificent. I saw myself as a highly intelligent and magnificent person who is meant for great things. This could be one of them. I spent the next couple weeks focusing on writing for myself instead of working on my schoolwork. The class didn't give much homework to do anyways. I wrote summaries for 3 different stories, and I think I showed 2 of them to my mother. She seemed to think that they would make good movies, and that increased my confidence. I either wanted to write a novel first or go straight to making it a screenplay. I spent every afternoon for 2 weeks working on this goal. My time at college was miserable. I often cried on the way home because I was envious of so many couples walking around. Oh, come on, get off it. I poured all of my energy into coming up with a way to make this goal work. My faith that I could write an epic story that would make me rich soon collapsed. I read so many articles online of the chances that a screenplay would be made into a movie. I also saw that most writers of even the highest budget films didn't make as much as I thought they did. Definitely not enough to live on for the rest of their life. I also thought with a lot of despair of the time that it would take to achieve such a goal. Most best-selling authors or screenwriters didn't become millionaires until they were well into their 40s or 50s. I didn't want to wait until I was 40 years old to lose my virginity. The thought of spending the next 20 years working hard every day for a chance to make $1 million or $2 million filled me with revulsion. By the time I'd become a millionaire from doing that, I wouldn't even be able to get hot young girls because I'd be too old. I decided that writing was not my path to salvation, and I abandoned the idea completely. Of course, I would become tantalized with the idea of a few times in the future, but that would be due to the desperate false hope that I often create for myself. I couldn't stand seeing that damnable couple in my class anymore. I never understood what that pretty girl saw in her brute of a boyfriend. The guy was able to experience his college life with his beautiful girlfriend by his side while I was all alone. It made me feel so inferior. I had to watch them together every day. The torture was unbearable. When I got home from college one day, I dropped my class in a rage. Okay, so he drops another class. I dropped a lot of classes going through college over the years because my life was just really difficult, and I couldn't. Well, first of all, I had to go to school for free. I had to, only take a couple classes. I don't know. It was hard to be able to afford books. I got financial aid sometimes. Sometimes I had to pay it back. I didn't qualify for financial aid, but they had some money that was not technically financial aid that I was able to get my books with, and then I'd have to pay them back. And I was living in my car. It was just, I didn't have the support I needed to do college right, and I ended up dropping classes. I got a lot of classes done. I'm talking about myself now, Dean. I got a lot of classes done. But, and I have like a really good GPA, but as soon as I knew I couldn't spend the time I needed on a class, I would drop it because I didn't want to screw up my GPA. If I don't have the time to do the class right, I'm not going to follow through on the class. And that's what I did. That's how I did it. But it sounds like, it was a little different for him. He dropped classes for other reasons. I didn't think about how my mother would react to me dropping the class. I knew she would be very disappointed, and I couldn't afford to have her be disappointed in me. I was relying on her for everything. What she gave to me, she could easily take away. I panicked and resolved to get a job in order to placate her. After asking Tony, my social skills counselor, if I could get a job through the regional center, he called me back and told me that there was a job available for me. I didn't get much information about it, but I decided to sign up for it right there and then. After this was secure, I was comfortable enough to tell my mother I had dropped my class at Moore Park. I could have lied to her and told her that I never dropped the class, but at that time I was too scared to lie to her. I started a day of working at this new job. It was located in an office building that was connected to an airport in Los Angeles. To my horror and humiliation, the job turned out to be a menial custodial job, and I had to clean offices and even the bathrooms. There was no way I would ever degrade myself to such a level. I felt like utter shit from even considering working at such a place. I only worked for a few hours while I thought about how to handle this foul situation, and on the next day I called to announce that I was quitting. That was the second and last job, quote unquote, I would ever have. I only worked there for less than a day. That's sad. Wow. See, I do not. He and I are totally opposites. Total opposites. That was what I did for a living, cleaning. Nobody wants to clean. And if you're good at it, people pay you okay, That's what I did. Because I was good at it and it was easy. I mean, even I can't do it for myself for some reason, but I can do it for others. I had a cleaning business. I've been cleaning since, that was one of my first jobs too. I mean, my first job was the paper route, and the second job was babysitting at age 12, paper route age 11. And then I used to clean houses through the Youth Employment Service in Princeton after that for years. Got a lot of cleaning gigs. I was really good. I did a really good job. People raved about my work, and I was a kid, Yeah, I've always been proud of my cleaning ability. I mean, not that I do it for myself. I mean, yeah, I guess I should, right? I don't know. Maybe this is enlightening me. All right. Oh, I see Hawaii here on the page. Let's see what he says about Hawaii. After I quit, I fell into an even worse state of panic than I was in after I dropped my Moore Park class. I rapidly pestered myself with the ultimate question: what am I to do now? I called up Carl Champley to see if he had another job for me at his house, but he told me that his house was almost finished and there was literally no work for me to do there. I was doomed. I thought that if my mother found out that I quit, she would kick me out of her household. Yeah, so that's the only reason he's getting a job. My mother was taking a vacation in Hawaii with my sister during this time. Oh, so the sister got to go to Hawaii. I had a few days by myself to relax and plot my next move. I concluded that going to college and enduring the sight of couples walking around was better than having to resort to working a low-class job somewhere, and I had to pick one of the two in order to placate my mother. College was also more beneficial because I could learn and educate myself through it. Very smart. Yes. I called up my mother and cried to her on the phone, explaining to her why I quit the job that I signed up for, and asked her if she could give me another chance. I told her I will register for more classes at Moore Park and pour all my energy into studying hard. I also told her that I will continue with working on my writing. To my relief, she was very understanding, and she told me she would continue to support me if I did this. The temporary pressure I had to face that summer was eased, but after thinking about it, I supposed it was insignificant compared to the overall pressure that's been on my shoulders since I hit puberty. My struggle against a society that looks down upon me, against the female gender for denying me love and sex and love. Addison Altendorf's hurtful words kept haunting me all throughout the summer. I saw my future, and I saw only more bleak loneliness. I will never have sex. Yeah, keep telling yourself that, and you won't. It became his mantra, I guess. I will never have love. Girls deem me unworthy of it, I thought to myself over and over again. I cried every day when I imagined how much fun and pleasure other teenagers were having as I languished in despair. Oh my goodness. My 19th birthday passed by sullenly, and it caused me to feel even more defeated. 19 and still a virgin, I miserably proclaimed on that day. My father didn't even deign to give me a phone call. Instead, he sent me a letter wishing me happy birthday and telling me that he wanted me to apologize to Sumaya, which of course I refused to do. The laptop I received on my 17th birthday had become infected with viruses, so my mother bought me a new, even better laptop on my 19th birthday. I chose one that can handle video games very well because I had just made the decision to start playing World of Warcraft again. I just couldn't imagine, I just couldn't handle the anguish. And by the way, anguish is the term Vanessa Shaw uses for her suffering. Unless Larry erased her. I'm sure Larry has erased the article in the World Tribune that was published. I'm sure he's erased it and deleted it from SGI history. Okay. Okay. I chose one that can okay, so he's going to start playing World of Warcraft again. I don't think that's a good idea, but I just couldn't handle the anguish in my life anymore. I needed a break, no matter how unhealthy and time-consuming World of Warcraft would be for me. Okay, well, It is familiar. All right, so 4:51. Oh my gosh, it's 4:51 p.m. That was David's former prefix. 4:51, and it's 4:51 p.m. in Augusta, Georgia. That is wild. I don't ever take things like that lightly. That is pretty interesting and profound.
His day's running out.
Yeah. All right. I shall end now and resume later. I don't know. I'm determined to finish this thing. Farewell.
What do you get to with all this depression and shit?